I don't even have my microphone on here yet. Whoops. It usually takes a few minutes for people to get in there anyway, so. Hey. Starting off with the technical problems right from Jump Street. Get in there. There we go. Hey, Kimberly, you're already here. I accidentally started early, and I wasn't even ready yet. So bear with us while we get everything set up here, get everything ready to go. All right. What's going on, Coco? Nice to see you. Happy to have you here. Thank you so much for joining the stream. I'm going to concentrate really hard today on not speaking too loudly because I usually end up yelling. I don't know why I do that. It's a mind thing with the microphone. I need coffee and glasses. I'll be right back. And I put the website in the description. It's the only thing in the description, so maybe that's an easier way for people to find it.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't look like you can click it.
Of course not. All right. Coffee in hand. I might have, well, we got coffee. Yeah, should be good. Huzzah. Bam Bam, nice to see you here. Piece of a Reef is in here moderating things, making sure everything is going correctly. That's my wife. She's sitting right over there. And we got Brandon in here with us already. So yeah, thank you guys so much for joining the stream with us today. We're going to be chatting all about reef tanks, of course, and maybe life. Who knows? We'll see. Man, this new coffee pot is hot. Russell likes the rock work. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It took a couple of weeks for me to get that done, but largely it was because I was not that far out of back surgery. And it was very difficult because I had to build it in place in the tank. So getting over the top, hanging over there and doing all that made it quite hard to build that rock structure the way that I did. But it's my favorite one that I've ever had. Everybody really likes it. And I'm so happy about that. It's definitely different. You know, for those of you who may not know, this big rock here is the only one that's attached to the bottom. Right. So all of this is just floating rock structure in the tank. There's a big pile of rocks over here and there's a little pile of rocks over there too. But all of this, now it is connected to the overflow in this spot and then back behind these corals back here just for some extra stability. But otherwise, it's all built off of this main rock, which was flattened on the bottom and siliconed with aquarium silicone sealant to the bottom glass. So these rocks are never coming out of this tank unless I break them apart. You good?
Yeah, I was trying to get the picture that we just popped up and show just the picture of the
the way it looked when I first set it up. Yeah, we're going to show a picture here in a minute. Bam Bam has the same back problems. Yeah, I hear you. I've had 2 back surgeries. The most recent one was a fusion L5S1. And here, yep. So for those who want to see, that's 1 year ago what the rock structure looked like as I was putting the tank together. So it was it's definitely a very, very different sort of, I don't know if I can get this in here, very stark difference from a year ago to now. So very cool, very cool. Here you go, baby. Thank you. Jay is in the house. What's going on? Apache says hello. Good evening, Day. Good evening to you too. Somebody asked something. Oh, Bam Bam says, what do you think of ozone? So here's the thing about, oh wait, let me get my clippy thing out here. So here's the thing about ozone, right? It's very, very, very effective at what it does. And it's also very, very, very dangerous if you do it incorrectly. You should not even consider ozone on your tank unless the cost of a top tier piece of equipment for all of the things that go along with ozone is not a problem for you. So if you're at the peak of your reef keeping game and you want to get that last little bit of clarity and really make the tank pop for show pictures and things like that, you could go with ozone. We'll create a highlight out of that. So the problem with ozone, well, there's several problems with ozone, really. Number one, ozone is extremely corrosive, like by a factor that I can't even get out of my mouth right now. Everything that you use on your aquarium needs to be rated for ozone. Most people run it through the skimmer, and the skimmer has to be rated to be able to use ozone because it's extremely destructive to everything. And so when you're using ozone, how can I explain this in an easy, simple to understand way? So basically, oxygen is O2, right? Two oxygen molecules, they're bonded together. They like that bond. They want to be stuck together. Ozone is O3. So it's oxygen with an extra oxygen molecule, and it doesn't like that scenario. So that third molecule is very unstable. It's banging around. The chemical structure is not held together very well. And that radical movement of all of that is one of the things that it rips things apart with, right? We already have 64 people in here. That is amazing. Thank you all so much for joining so soon. We're gonna get back to ozone though. So anyway, it degrades everything that it touches super fast. So for example, ozone uses airline as part of its system, right? If you don't use ozone rated airline, or let me rephrase this, if normal aquatic airline like you would use for a bubbler takes 15 years to degrade to the point that it begins leaking air and it's no longer, as functional as it should be. If you run ozone through that same airline, it takes about 3 weeks because it just destroys it. And so everything that it touches has to be rated for the ozone. This is, in my opinion, I have not spoken to them about this. Don't go out there blasting anything on the internet. You know what? I'm not even going to say who it is. There's a very popular reef tank person who has a very nice tank. They're running ozone, and they've had a lot of problems with PVC components breaking, leaks popping off in places that should otherwise be fine. And some of the suspected problems are the heavy use of ozone in that aquarium. So it's extremely corrosive and caustic. And on top of all of that, it is extremely damaging to organics and even ourselves and our furry pets. And like birds, if you have birds in your home, ozone is a no-go. It'll kill birds. So you have to use proper equipment to make sure that it's not leaking anywhere outside of that equipment into your home. If it is leaking into your home, it can cause you to have health problems. You'll have lung issues. You could end up with pneumonia and other things like that. So it's definitely not a thing for everybody, right? But if you want to spend the money on good equipment, you want to run it properly, you want to have the monitors in place so that you know if it's leaking to the ambient atmosphere in your room and things like that, then yes. In my opinion, and that's all this is an opinion, unless you have a really big tank, like with a viewing depth through the water of like 10, 12, 14 feet or something like that, ozone is probably not something you need on your aquarium. In that case, it will clear that water up because I don't care how good your water quality is. If you look through 12 feet of salt water, it's going to be hazy on the other end. It's just the nature of salt water. Now, ozone will make it so that water is perfectly clear. And so for those big, huge tanks like that have a long viewing through the water distance, I would say invest the money and get the ozone. If you're building a tank like that, cost really isn't a factor anyway. But if you don't spend the big money on the good stuff, I wouldn't do it. That's enough of that. Excuse me. Let's see. Coral Cartel. Hope everyone's having a great day. Amazing. Appreciate what you do for the reefing community. Well, I appreciate the appreciation, my friend. Thank you so much. Cy is here, finally caught alive while it's live. Did you send in your sample to Aquabiomics? Unfortunately, they are closing shop. August 15th is the last day they're receiving. I did. I have not had my sample processed yet, and I sent it in quite a while ago. So I'm not, I mean, it is what it is. Whatever reasons they had for closing up shop, sometimes you just have to cut your losses and move on. But yeah, I did send my samples in. They haven't come back yet. Hello from Idaho, says Ryan. Well, hello from Louisiana, and out there to anybody else who's all over the world. Jay says, CO2 scrubber media, do you wait for it to entirely turn purple? I've got about 30% purple right now. Generally speaking, I let it get mostly purple. In my specific situation, I change my media once a week, and it's usually pretty well exhausted by then. That's just how it works out for me. Other people, obviously, your environment's different than mine. It's going to be a little different. But yeah, if it's only used up 30%, I would wait another week and see how it goes. KZ Tropical says, how to fix green hair algae. So the answer to that is somewhat convoluted because it could be multiple things that are causing your hair algae problem. However, generally speaking, this is what I would say. If you're battling green hair algae, you need to make sure that you're not blasting the tank with too much par. It needs to be accurate. It needs to be correct par for the tank, but not too much. Photo period doesn't need to be too long. Keep it less than 10 hours. Maybe stretch it to 12 with a ramp on either end. Make sure that your nitrate and phosphate are both in the range and ratio to one another that they need to be. And make sure that you have enough herbivores in your tank. Almost every time I see somebody with a hair algae problem in their tank, it's because they don't have enough cleaners that are specifically eating algae. A skunk cleaner shrimp isn't going to do a thing for algae. Create highlight. Urchins are great. Pincushion urchins, tuxedo urchins, nearite snails, the regular ones and the ox tongue nearite. Chitons are awesome. There's a lot of cleaners out there that you can get that specifically target algae, and you may need more. Shoot for one algae-eating cleaner per gallon of tank water. That's a good sort of roundabout kind of guideline to go with. But without knowing all the specifics about the tank, it would be really hard. Ryan says, I've got a scenario I'd like to pitch you. Take a bit of a backstory. 60-day QT ick and fallow stock includes. During the fallow period, I came across a Scopus tank for a steel. He's in a separate observation QT. You noticed ick on him. So now my plan was to introduce both tanks together into the display. Do I keep them in separate QT and write it out? Yes. Johnny Luckett said egghead, which is funny because I have a TikTok account. It used to be for my motorcycle. I'll get back to the QT thing in a sec. So I had this really bright green chameleon painted motorcycle, and it was called Antifreeze 109. It was a Suzuki M109. Anyway, short story. And everybody, my thing there was your favorite egghead. That was my sort of hook line, sort of my identity there. And that is even what that account is called now, is your favorite egghead. It's sort of a nothing account now. I might start uploading my fishing stuff there maybe or whatever, but yeah. So I embrace the egghead. Anyway, yeah, for those two tanks, Ryan, I would QT them separately. I would put them, when they're both ready to go, I would put them in the tank in their own respective acclimation boxes so that they can begin smelling each other and the tank can smell them and see them and all of that kind of stuff. And that's going to help curb aggression. So I would do that for about 2 weeks and then put them in the tank at the same time. So KZ's got nitrate at 10, phosphate at 0.1. Good. So that's a good range, good ratio. If you have a huge hair algae problem, those numbers might not be correct. But again, it's really hard to say without being able to have an in-depth discussion about the tank. But some of those things that I mentioned are definitely things to look at, especially the cleaners, especially the herbivores. You can have, I mean, I've run a tank at 50 nitrate and 0.5 phosphate before with no algae problems because it had a very large bioload of cleaners. When I had to reset this tank and I did this rock structure, everything that was in this tank went in my 40 gallon. And had huge, way high nitrate and phosphate because I had a 180 gallon tank stock in a 40 gallon size tank. And all my cleaners moved over there too. But there wasn't a speck of algae in there because there were so many cleaners to keep it cleaned up. Ozark says, hello, do you need to QT the first fish of a newly set up tank? Yes, absolutely. I would recommend that you do that because if that fish has something like Uranema or Brooklinella, ick or velvet or any other fish pathogen and it brings it into the tank, it is now in the tank. And it doesn't matter if you QT anything else going in there, it's already in the tank. So the best practice is, yes, to QT everything that goes into the tank. If you get your invertebrates and your corals from systems that don't have fish in them, that's very good. And you can reduce or even eliminate the QT that you're doing because of that. So I get my invertebrates from reefcleaners.org, not affiliated. I would like to be. But I get them from them. All of their systems have no fish. So there's no fish pathogens in their systems. So I don't quarantine those invertebrates that I get from them. Why is my leg really hot? Did I spill my coffee? No? It's weird. As far as corals go, it's still a good idea to QT them because corals bring their own diseases and stuff, but most people just dip the corals. I plan to have a coral QT as well as a fish QT if I ever get to the point where I can clean up all of my stuff. So, yeah. But yeah, I would recommend doing that. I am QTing a fish right now as we speak. If I turn this a bit and flip the camera, right over here in this tank is my powder brown tang, and he's in QT right now with copper power because he started showing signs like he had something wrong, you know? So I've got way too much in this tank, and with the rocks being glued in and everything, it would be very difficult for me to get all the fish out of this tank. So I'm being extremely overly cautious about anything that goes into the tank behind me for sure. Any tips on PO4 control using Roaphos and went from 0.5 to 0, removed 70% and swung back to 0.5. Feel like I'm chasing my tail. I have a refugium running and just started Microbacter 7. So Roaphos it works very well. If you want something that's a little sort of less aggressive, you could go with something like Fosguard or Fosban. Fauna Marin makes a product called P0.04. That's the name of the product. I don't know why they chose to go with that name because it's stupid to say it. But they have that product. It's a synthetic phosphate removing polymer that will, according to them, I've never tried it, but according to them, it will only bring your phosphates down to 0.04. It won't go any lower than that. So that's a very interesting thing. I'm hoping that we start seeing more stuff like that come into the industry. And I know there's some people working on some things that do similar kind of things for other stuff, but that might be a product that you could choose. Aside from that, it's really all about management. If the Roaphos took it all the way to 0, and when you removed 70% of the Roaphos, it jumped back to 0.5, that makes me think that maybe your test kit is not doing exactly what it should be, because that's a really violent swing for phosphate. It usually takes it a little longer to build up like that. It's usually not something that's just going to bang out like that in 1 or 2 or 3 days, So, I mean, those are some options for you. So what else we got going on, guys? Reef Retreat 2027 has been announced. The dates are fixed, and that's going to be a thing that we're going to be definitely going to again next year, and that's going to be super cool. That happens in right around Bristol, Rhode Island. Is it in Providence? It's in Bristol. Yeah, it's in Bristol, Rhode Island, close to Providence, but. We're going to be taking an extra day, and I'm going to be taking my travel fishing pole with me and some lures that I will probably make myself. See if we can't catch us a fish. Let's see. Brandon just finished cleaning up siphon ATO siphon overflow. Oh gosh, yeah, that's never good. Make sure you have a siphon break in there on your ATO. Where my ATO line comes out into my sump, it's actually in the air. So it just squirts water and it falls about 6 inches before it hits inside the sump. So yeah, always make sure you have siphon breaks on those things. It's very, very, very important. We recently, and by recently I mean this morning, my wife changed all of the branding across our social media accounts and our business pages and things. It looks a lot more professional now. Very nice, very clean, very crisp. The other stuff, I made it, I'm not great. She had some ideas and went with them, and it looks really, really, really good. So pay attention to that, because my branding has changed just a little bit. We're going to be doing new shirts. We're going to have stickers and all that kind of stuff too. So anybody who wants to get any of that stuff, you can find it on my website, which is in the description of the live stream, reefrookies.com. So what's coming in content soon? I'm talking to my buddy Jay. He was in the chat a little while ago. I don't know if he's still here, but he is going to help me out. He's got all of the Hannah checkers, and I'm going to be getting those and messing with them, and I'm going to make a series of videos on how to properly use them. Because there's a lot of, there's a lot of people out there who don't use them correctly. That's really the only way that I can put it. And that's not saying that they're not trying, but some of them can be a little finicky and a little complicated. So we're going to have videos coming out about that. So there's going to be 7 or 8 of those videos. And I'm going to do it in an interesting way. They're all going to be made, finished, and done. And then they're all going to drop at the same day, at the same time. Like all 8 of them, boom, they're all going to go public at the same time. Pretty interesting thing. That's a little YouTube back-end stuff we're going to try. It's called a content wall. Anyway, I mean, that's pretty much all we got going on over here. The wine glass tank is still rocking along. I did end up having to catch the big red brittle starfish out of the tank. Surprisingly, it was not as hard as I thought it was going to be. I waited till the lights went off, and I got a piece of a silver-side minnow, and I just coaxed him out of his hole with silver-side minnow, and he grabbed a hold of it, and I pulled him up into the water column and stuck a net under him. It was actually pretty easy. So he's over here that way in the 5-gallon QT until I figure out what I want to do with him. Which maybe I'll just trade him, at the fish store for a frag or something. I don't know. I only paid like $30 for him. So it's, not in it for a bunch of money. Thanks for hanging around, Jay. Yeah, we're going to make that Hannah checker thing. We're going to make that happen. Even if I have to drive all the way over to where you are to take notes in my notebook and whatnot. Yeah. So let's see. Sai says, nice powder blue tang. Local fish store, ordered ours 3 years ago. Took a month to come. It was flashing in the store, looked healthy and eating like a pig. So we took it home, treated, and doing great. Yeah. I like powder blues, but I've had a couple of powder blues before. I've never had a powder brown. Also a gorgeous fish. So we're gonna be rocking the powder brown for a little while. That'll probably be the last big fish that I put in this tank. There's not a lot of hidey holes for them to hide in and whatnot. I've got the fox face right there, and this is a bristle tooth tang swimming there, and there's a There's a sailfin tang. There he is. He's right there. And so the powder brown will be the last big fish, but I want to get some small fishes, some different wrasses. I would like to get a couple of anthias, maybe just a male, female, maybe two females, but anthias are kind of expensive. So holding off on those for a little while. Jake says, tips for eliminating red cyano. So it kind of goes very similarly to what I was saying earlier about the green hair algae. So when you're sorry, coffee. Okay, so when you're dealing with red cyano in your tank, it usually is showing up because there's an imbalance in nitrate and phosphate. Usually with the nitrate being much lower than it should be, or the phosphate being much higher than it should be, or sometimes even both. If you do other things to fix the red cyano without fixing that root cause of the problem, it's just going to come back. And it is no secret anywhere around my channel, I hate Chemiclean. I don't like it. I think it's way overused in the hobby, and it creates a lot of problems for a lot of people. The one exception is in a very mature tank. I might be okay if you have a lot of corals, it's very mature, it's got cyano, the parameters look perfect. Who knows what the real reason is in that case. But generally speaking, if the parameters are out of line, fix that first. It could also be a low flow situation or a situation where that area of the tank is getting too much par. So you might have to adjust your lights, you might have to adjust your flow. It's very hard for me to tell you exactly what to do without seeing the tank. I offer one-on-one consultations, by the way. So if anybody wants to spend an hour and talk about your specific aquarium, check my website, go to support the mission. Down below, there's consultations down there. I do ask you to pay me for that, but it's all there, all the info. Anyway, so cyano is one of those things that you have to kind of go by process of elimination to figure out what the root cause of the problem is. It's either lighting, flow, imbalanced or unbalanced parameters, or lack of cleaners. Now, there's not a lot of cleaners that eat cyano, but there are some. Ox tongue nearite are one of those cleaners. It's a snail, and it actually eats cyanobacteria. So keeping a good, healthy cleanup crew is one of the best things that you can do, especially animals that like sift the sand and stuff, like strawberry or tiger or fighting conchs. They do a great job keeping the sand cleaned up, and that goes a long way from letting cyano to grab hold. But usually it's excessively high phosphates or excessively low nitrate causing that issue. Let's see. Weld is in the house. What's going on, my friend? Eagle Point's here from Australia. Very nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining. Weld just got his first turbo snail. These things can eat a lot. I don't know how I'm going to feed this guy when the hair algae's gone. He'll probably be all right. You can get algae wafer pellets like you would feed freshwater, like plecos and stuff. You could get those and put one in the tank. You could actually literally hand it to the turbo snail and he'll like start munching on it and stuff. That's one thing you can do if the tank becomes really, really clean. It looks like maybe he's struggling a bit. Lee Armstrong says, Microbacter 7 seems to have made the water cloudy after the first dose. Is that normal? Also interested in thoughts on a UV wand for sand based on dinos, if it's worth the investment. So Microbacter 7 is a bottle of bacteria. It could, I could see how it could potentially cause a bacterial bloom, which is what cloudy water usually is. If it's white cloudy, it could be a bacterial bloom. I could see if the tank was right on the brink of already having one anyway, and then you added the microbacter, it might do that. As far as the UV wand situation goes, I think it's a really great tool. I was told by one of my moderators of my Facebook group that you actually have to employ it a lot slower than they recommend. They say in the instructions 15 seconds per spot. He said more like a minute per spot. And then you move it 2 inches and you do it for another minute. Then you move it 2 inches and do it for another minute. So a big tank takes a long time, and you have to do it every day. But I do think it's a good investment if you have dinos that are on the sand bed. It could absolutely help you with that situation. Microbacter 7, it might help a little bit. It might not. It's hard to say. Weld says, I did dose pods 5 days ago. I don't see any yet. My inverts are alive, so I'm not sure how long it would take to see them or if I should seed again. So they're very, very small. I mean, really, really small. So the only way that you're really going to be able to see them is at night with the lights off. Take your phone flashlight or something and shine it long ways down the glass. So I'd be looking at the front glass, but the light would be over here on the side glass, shining down the inside of the front glass. And then you'll see these little teeny tiny white specks moving around. Those are your copepods. James Nicholson says, what's perfect? Well, my friend, that is the $100 million question. Generally, what we have landed on, I think you're talking about water parameters, nitrate, phosphate. Generally, what you are aiming for is there's a range that we want to stay within, and that's about 2 to 20 nitrate and about 0.04 to 0.20 phosphates. Now, the more important thing is keeping them in ratio to one another. And this is not an exact thing, but it's a good guideline to keep them about 100 to 1. So if you have 10 nitrate, you would have 0.1 phosphate or somewhere thereabout. Don't try to hit that exact number. It's very hard. And it usually don't stay that way for very long. But so, for example, if you have 5 nitrate, then it would be 0.05. Or if you have 15, it would be 0.15, and so on and so forth. That's a good target to shoot for. Some tanks don't want to be there, and they want their phosphate to be a little higher. My tank right now, I've got 10 nitrate, so I should be at 0.1. But this tank is kind of stuck right now at 0.25. But knock on wood, I don't have any problems because I have the right amount of cleaners and all of that stuff. So it doesn't always have to be perfect, but that's a good guideline. Jake says it makes sense. I do have an imbalance of high phosphate and low nitrate. It's only in my sump. Well, there you go. So you have a parameter imbalance and the sump is a low flow area. That's a perfect storm for cyanobacteria. Now, if you have enough flow in your main display, you might not ever see the cyano pop up in the main display. It might stay down in the sump. I spiked my phosphate to 1.0 here recently. And of course, that is wildly out of balance. I started having some cyano show up, but only in my 40-gallon refugium in the back there because it's even lower flow than my main display, which is also at a very low flow point right now because I'm waiting on some new wave makers to come. So yeah, bang on. That's what you got going on. Get that nutrient imbalance fixed. And once you've done that, manually remove the cyano from the sump and you probably won't see it come back. Nacerius snails stir the sand as well. Yes, they do. They're very good at that as well. Yeah, it's a great choice of cleaner to keep the sand clean, but they're not primarily algae eaters. They're omnivores and they prefer meat. So, what I do for mine, I have big 1-inch like Tongan Nacerius in this tank. When I feed my fish frozen foods like brine and mysis and stuff like that, I use my pipette. It's 36 inches long, and I literally stick it in the sand bed and pump some in the sand bed. I do that for my diamond goby and for my Nacerius snails, and you can see them after an hour or so. They have found it and they're in there and they're eating that stuff. But yeah, great cleaner. Ryan says, next question. I overshot making saltwater, ended up at 1.045. It precipitated out. Salinity has been corrected, but did I lose the... If it precipitated, it's no good. Throw it away, start over. Once it precipitates, it's not going to deprecipitate. What's the word? You get what I'm talking about. There's another word for it. It's not going to become soluble again like it was. So it's no good. Get rid of that water. Start you a new batch of water. Hello, Andy. Nice to have you here with us. Brandon says, how's the Amazon donation wish list coming along? Oops. It was on the list of things to do, but we either missed it or we didn't get there. We've had a lot going on the last at this point, the last year. Yeah, but thanks for reminding us. We wrote it down again to get that going. Appreciate the reminder for sure. Nola Ant says, I kept 5 turbo snails in my sump for 3 months. Totally fine. Yeah, 3 months is a good run. Once you start keeping the same snail for 3 or 4 years and stuff, that's when it starts getting like really impressive. Like, dang, that turbo snail's 3 years old, but yeah, they're a good snail. Mexican turbo snails, because there's a lot of different species of turbos. Mexican turbo snails are not tropical snail species. They are temperate snail species, and the water temperature in our tropical reef tanks is actually too high for them, and they don't last very long. Now, some of the other types of turbos, they can do better, and sometimes you'll get a few turbos that acclimate to it and they're fine. But generally speaking, their preferred water temperature is down around 72, not 77 or 78. But that's just the Mexican ones. KZ says, clams care guide. I do not know enough about clams specifically to create a guide. However, what I could maybe do is find someone who is and get in a Zoom call with them, ask all the questions that hobbyists would be asking, and let them teach us. I've done that before. I'm not sure who at this point would be the right person to do that with. Maybe somebody at Polo Reef, because they've been trying real hard to figure out what the secret sauce is with clams. So maybe somebody from there. But yeah, not sure on that one. Can't answer that question for you. I do know that some of them are pretty hard. James, got your first ICP test from Triton. I dosed my tank multi-elements multi-elements A on Saturday and B on Sunday, and tested my water on Monday. Should I wait till Friday, the day before I dose? I'm not understanding correctly, James. I need some additional information. Are you on the Triton Trace Element program, the MYTE, the Master Your Trace Elements program with the 2 bottles, the A bottle and B bottle? Let me know that, and we'll go from there. James said, "What's perfect was a joke." It might have been a joke, but it led me to a good piece of content, so I appreciate that. Jessica says, "Need ChemiClean help? Ask your questions, and I'll hit them as soon as I can." Let's see. How do we say this? I'm not sure how to say your name. The NO2 in my aquarium doesn't want to go down even after water changes. So if you have nitrite showing up in your aquarium and it won't go down, and you're doing water changes and it's still not going down, there's a possibility that you have some contamination in the source water that you're using to mix your salt water. That's a possibility. You could have ammonia or nitrite or nitrate in there, making it do that. It could be your salt. I've seen that a couple times where salt had some organics got in there somehow, and it was causing problems. It could be that your tank is still just not caught up with the bacteria that need to process all the nitrite into nitrate. That could be a thing. There's a lot of possibilities. All of them are going to finally get you back to the point where you either have contamination coming in on the new water or the tank just isn't processing it yet. You can test the new water and see if there's anything in there. If you're not using RODI and you're using tap water, that's very likely the source. Or with the tank, you can add some bacteria to see if maybe that helps. I would recommend Microbe Lift Night Out 2. That's the one that I would use for that. Also not affiliated or sponsored or anything. We have no corporate sponsors. Let me just put that out there. Although I would entertain a brand deal with the right company, but I'm not selling out. I'm just saying. Let's see. Well, it says, not going to lie, I take a cube of Mice's Hole and just drop it in the display tank. The nacerius snails and clownfish go nuts. I feel like my 2 bumblebees. Yeah, I mean, that's one way you can do it. It's kind of hard for nacerius to catch things that are flowing around the tank. They can get them sometimes. But I mean, that's one way to do it. Nola says, good to see you got the lights upgraded and the tank in order. Happy for you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm loving the DeLua lights. Man, I don't even have so let me pop the hood. Pop the hood. What you got under the hood? I don't pop the hood. You got to race first. Then we find out. Anyway, so I have the DeLua X4 SPS Beast Bundle. That's what this lighting system is called. And it's got 4 of these X4 blocks. And then right here along the front, there are 4 36-inch along the front and the back, 36-inch LED Vitamini strips in the reefer coloration, the very blue coloration. The LED strips are not even on right now because if the LED strips are not adjustable, they're just on off. So when you turn them on, what you get is what you get. And with those and the X4s at 100%, I get 1,000 par at the top of my rocks. And it's about 16 inches, 14 to 16 inches from the lights to the top of the rocks here. And it was over 1,000 par. So I had to turn the LED strips off. We'll see as the acros grow out, and start shading the corals below them. Some acros can tolerate very, very high par. So we'll see how that goes. Well, don't worry about your Mexican turbo, man. It's either going to make it or it's not. Cleanup crew is one of those things that you're going to be replacing. As long as you have the tank, you're going to just keep going, keep going, keep going. What's been your biggest waste of money in the hobby? That's a great question. Love that. As in equipment or livestock that just didn't meet your expectations. What has been my biggest waste of money? I'm really good at wasting money. Yeah, that probably is. That probably is. So my wife looked at me and said the wrasse. So I had a 75-gallon tank that was set up. It was a mixed reef. I had some fish in it that I probably shouldn't have. We'll just leave it at that. But the tank was doing great. Everything was fine. Everything was happy. No algae problems, nothing. Corals were growing. It was basically just a softie and LPS reef. I didn't have any SPS in it. And I went to the fish store. And they had a freaking huge lunar wrasse in there. Some people call them a moon wrasse. It was like 9 or 10 inches long. And I'm like, and it was $25. Well, I found out why it was $25. I was like, I've got to have that fish. And the fish store person knew what size tank I had because I had gotten all my stuff from them. And they were like, this fish can't go in that tank. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be upgrading my tank soon. I had no plan to upgrade the tank at all. I don't even think I could have put a bigger tank in that house. The house wouldn't have remained standing. But so I lied to them. I told them I was going to be upgrading my tank. They sold me the $25 10-inch moon wrasse. And then that jerk ate my entire cleanup crew in 24 hours, knocked over all my rocks, crushed some of my corals, and ended up crashing the entire tank. So that $25 cost me several grand. So yeah, that was the biggest one for sure. KZ has around 30 clams in your tank from the Red Sea. Interesting, very cool. Jessica says, should I start with a half dose or a straight to full dose? Chemiclean doesn't work that way. You have to run the full dose. You're going to have to make sure that you have absurd amounts of oxygenation in the water because it's going to strip the water clean of oxygen. So if you don't have a big skimmer that's producing lots of bubbles, you're going to have to add multiple air stones, not just one, more than one, which is going to make a huge mess. There's going to be salt creep and bubbles and water running down the outsides of the tank and all of that. It's going to make a mess. But no, you have to put it in at the full strength dose. If you have a skimmer, it's going to make that skimmer go crazy. So if your skimmer is a hang on the back, it's going to overflow. It's not if. I'm telling you that it will overflow. There's no situation that you're going to run ChemiClean with a skimmer and it's not going to overflow. No skimmer. Okay, so air stones. Okay, yeah, I'm not caught up all the way with the chat. So you're going to you absolutely have to run at least 2 air stones. And then you just got to let it do its thing. Sometimes it takes a week, 10 days, something like that. And I mean, it does work. It's probably going to kill a lot of the beneficial bacteria that are in your tank. So you need to be ready to dose good bacteria back to the tank when the ChemiClean is finished. And when it's finished, when it's done its job, you're going to have to do probably 2 or 3 big, massive 50% water changes to get it out of the tank before, well, you don't have a skimmer, but you'll have to do the water changes to get it out. And then add good bacteria back in. Tropic Marin, Nitrobiotic would be a good choice. Microbe Lift Special Blend, Microbe Lift Night Out 2, Microbacter 7. All of those would be good choices. And there's a bunch more that you could choose from too. Weld says, I remember what I wanted to ask. For a while, my DKH was rising on its own, but my tank didn't have any corals, only a clown. Why would that be? So alkalinity can go up sort of on its own, especially if you have crushed coral substrate in the tank. So if you have crushed coral, sand, and rocks in the tank, it can sort of dissolve over time. It was one of the ways we used to supplement alkalinity in our tanks. We would get a big media bag, put crushed coral in it, put it in the sump. It breaks down over time and it contributes alkalinity and calcium back to the tank. So if your substrate is like that, that could be doing it. If you are dosing anything to the tank, that could be doing it. Or if you're doing water changes with water that has alkalinity higher than the tank is at, that could be doing it. So those are some things to think about. Charles is back. What's going on, man? Happy to have you here. Thank you, Weld. James says, I'm doing the subscription and the test I got back was really good because everything was in the green, I believe. Okay, so James, if you're doing the Triton mite system, those have to be dosed every day. It's not just a one and done thing. Like whatever your instructions say, probably somewhere like 29, 30, 31 milliliters, something like that. That has to be done every single day from bottle A and bottle B. And then you do that for 2 weeks. And then you take the next ICP test and send it in. And then by the time you run out over the next 2 weeks, you'll have your next 2 bottles in. Hope that helps. Jessica says, how else to get rid of cyano? So we were talking about this a little bit ago. Cyano usually pops up when there's a situation where nutrients are imbalanced, where phosphate is higher than it should be, or when nitrate is lower than it should be. So the very first thing that I tell anybody to do when they're fighting cyano is get those parameters fixed and get them in the right places. Because if you don't do that, the cyano is just going to come back. And it's going to suck to go through a 2-3 week long cyano ChemiClean treatment, do all the things, spend all the money, get the bacteria, put it all back in the tank. And a month from now, the cyano comes back because the parameters are messed up. So fix the parameters first before you do anything else. That statement alone could be the basis of reef keeping. Fix the water parameters first before you do anything else. I'm going to put that on a t-shirt. With the new logo. Yes. Let's see here. Yeah, for anybody who missed it earlier, we're changing our branding. Looks much more professional now. So if things look a little bit different, hi, it's me. I'm the problem. Actually, my wife is the problem in this instance. She's the one who decided that needed to be changed, and it was a good idea.
It all came around because of stickers.
It all came around because of you guys. You did it. You're the problem. Somebody asked for stickers. So she started trying to design a sticker that we could give to people and sell with our products and things like that. And now we've rebranded the entire channel. Or all of the social media. The whole brand has been rebranded. It looks really good, though. I like it a lot. Kimberly says, tomorrow is the big day. I'll be moving everything from the 20 long into the 33 long. No livestock, so it'll be easy. It's just a complete reset. Very cool. Well, it sounds exciting. I love setting up new tanks. It's always fun. I have one that I am going to turn into a tank at some point. I could go get it out of my office and show you guys. I've had it for a really long time, but I want to turn it into a tank. I'm just really busy and have other projects. It's not an aquarium, but I want to make it into one. Let that run in your brain for a minute.
You want me to get it?
If you want to, babe, it's
We're
fine.
talking about the,
Yeah.
okay.
Hello. Well, hi. How are you doing? I hope you're doing great. What calibration fluid do you recommend for a handheld refractometer? So the one that I get is from a website called aquacraft.net, spelled just like that, all lowercase. And it has been really, really, really good. It's spot on with my ICP testing. So I think that it's a good measured solution. The guy that runs that website is very knowledgeable in reef keeping. It's not just a company that is making products and they don't know anything about them. The heck is she doing? Anyway, yeah, so that's a really good one. I don't like any of the other ones because people have reported to me that all of the other brands have been off, and I don't like that. I also don't understand why it's so hard to mix some salt and some water to a correct ratio. You can DIY it yourself. If you dig around online and look hard enough, you can DIY your own refractometer solution, but you have to use the correct things. You cannot use the salt we use for the aquarium. But yeah, so anyway, my wife went and got the thing that I want to turn into an aquarium. Would you like to see it? I'll show it to you. So I have, oh gosh, I have had this. I'm going to put this on the ground. I've had this thing for at least
Close to 2 years now.
close to 2 years.
It's been, now maybe it's almost 3.
Almost 3 years. This Christmas will be 3 years. So I'm an Amazon influencer as well. It's another side hustle that I have. And for Christmas, because I was a platinum member, they sent me a big Christmas present. And it had this on the top of it. And so it was a box with this big bubble on the top, right? And it was all wrapped up with ribbons and whatnot. And I want to turn this into an aquarium. So options. Top down aquarium like that, little reef tank, light hanging from the ceiling. That's an option. Like a lagoon almost with some really cool rock work that comes out. Vampire crabs. I mean, how cool would that be? Right? But I think they might be freshwater. I don't remember. Anyway, so that's one way. What my thinking is to build sort of a cabinet that goes on the back of it, right? That contains the support equipment and like a sump built into the cabinet and all of that, mount it on the wall. And the design would look like the portal of a ship. So there would be big 3D printed like screws and bolts and stuff around it, mount it on the wall and make it an aquarium that way that hangs on the wall of my house. It could have seahorses, but they're a lot of work. Could have a mantis shrimp in it. Could be a jellyfish tank. Could have, it's deep enough so we could run a 12-inch sand bed and have garden eels. My wife likes those. They're really cool.
I don't know if that would even be big enough though.
Yeah.
I looked into those. They need a lot.
They need a lot of space. Yeah. Yeah, could go one of a lot of ways, but that's it. That's the thing, right? And we've been trying to keep this thing. The only thing I don't like about it is it's made out of acrylic. So it's going to scratch, and it already is scratched a little bit in some places. But a top-down reef, that would be very cool too, as like a showpiece in the corner or something, and just top down all the time.
And then I'll go put it back where it was for the next 3 years.
Yep, next 3 years. All right, let's get back to it here. My light, wait a minute. KZ says, my light 150 bar, what tip of corals do you recommend? So I think you meant 150 par, PAR, and you're asking what type of corals do you recommend? So 150 and under, you could have Micromusa, Blastomusa, Duncans. Some Zoas might be okay in that situation. You could have rock flower anemones, plate corals, mushroom corals, galaxia, candy canes, torches, hammers. I mean, basically anything that doesn't fall into the I need high par category, you can have it. You know, most of my tank from about right here down, everything in the tank is at like 120 or 100 par. These guys are actually at like 75. These torches and hammers over here, they're at like 150, 175. So yeah, it'll be all right. Good afternoon, Reefing. Hello, everybody. Kelly says, hey, did you ever ask Triton why they would recommend lowering the temperature to 24 degrees? Basically, it comes down to microbial activity in the tank. So there are coral pathogens that really don't like it to be that cool. And when it gets that cool, it basically stops their replication and they just sort of stop growing. So keeping the tank a little bit lower is showing at least some indication that it might be better for the corals from a pathogenic and a virulent standpoint. I don't know if it applies to the bacteria also, because obviously those things are different, right? Bacteria and pathogens. But there's at least some indicators that the lower temperature keeps coral pathogenesis, I think is the word, down. So you have better results with your corals. And I mean, it's fine. I've been running my tank at 76 degrees for 2 years. Everything seems to be nice and happy. As a matter of fact, we'll zoom in on it in a little while. I have a contraband digitata right back here. And when I spiked the tank to 1 ppm phosphate like 6 weeks ago or whatever it's been, that thing started to have tissue recession. And it had tissue recession all the way back to a point. I fixed the phosphate, started ripping it out of the tank. So that stopped. And now I can see new growth coming back, and the coral didn't continue STNing. Is that because I run it at low temperature? I have no idea. I can't say. But I have really nice coral growth in the tank. Everything is perfectly fine. The fish seem fine. I don't see any downsides to doing it if you want to do it. Ted says, my whole experience with reefing was ruined when I had to put each fish in their own tank because no one could get along. Man, yeah, that could go bad quick for sure. Happy says, can PLA filament be used in a reef aquarium? Yep, you can. I wouldn't use any of the crazy colors because some of the colors have like weird dyes and stuff. I would just use black or white. Understand that PLA will absorb, I can't talk. PLA will absorb moisture over time, and it could crack or even just come apart. PETG is the better option if you're going to be putting stuff inside the tank. Stuff on the outside of the tank, of course, you could use PLA for that, no problem. But PETG is the better option for inside the tank. Jellyfish sounds cool. I kind of think that is sort of the way that I'm thinking about going. I've never had a jellyfish tank. And I mean, how cool would that be to have a jellyfish tank in your house, right? And there are some really good jellies that you could get that are super easy to care for. Basically, you just dose the tank with phytoplankton, and that's it. They have everything else that they need. They don't need light. They don't need crazy filtration. You know, you just do 100% water change once a month or something like that, and you're good. You're good. That's it. You know? So jellies would be cool. You do have to be very careful with a jelly tank on how the tank is designed. So I would have to pay very close attention to like the overflow section. You can't use prop pumps or gyres or anything like that. You have to do water flow with just the water movement. Not sure how to even say this. Anyway, you don't want them to be exposed to anything that moves or blasts water. So you just have to get the water moving, but keeping all of that stuff out of the reach of the jellies. But it could be a fun thing. Kimberly wants to know, how is the newest fish doing? His name is Charlie Brown because he's a powder brown tang. My wife named him. He is currently zooming around the tank. Let's see if we can zoom in on him and see him. Let's turn that over there. Oh, there's Minus. He's taking a nap. And we can. Look at that. So he's right down there at the bottom. He's hanging out, doing just fine. He likes to hang out right there in that top corner and kind of lay over on his side. I don't know why he's doing that, but he's a tang, so it's probably normal. The tank is honestly way too small for him, so it's probably stressing him out a little bit because he can't do zoomies. But he's going to go in the big tanks soon enough, and everything will be okay. The copper is staying at the therapeutic level, staying at 2.49, so that's enough. And yeah, I don't know. Dude's just got to make it through the copper treatment, and I think he'll be home free after that. He's eating good. He's a pig, so that's good too. Tips and care guide for a powder brown tang. Well, that's a good option, good topic. Really, they're no harder than any other fish to take care of, as long as you get a healthy one when you buy it. If they're real thin, don't get them. If it's big and thick and fat and happy, that's the one you want to get. Especially if you can have the fish store. Especially if you can have the fish store feed it, so you can see it eating and all that stuff. Would you top off my coffee, please? I'm gonna take a voice break. We've been going for an hour, so y'all just hang out with me for a minute. Nah, you can just add to what's in there. What's you plug the thingy up in? Oh, on the chair. All right. I'm coming right back, everybody. Just bear with me for a minute. I'm going to start trying to take a voice break every hour.
Oh, it would be good to do.
Mm-hmm. No. Definitely isn't going to hurt anything. Thank you very much. All right, let's get back over here. Hoi! Okay. Fishman says, I have a powder brown, and he pretty much runs the tank. Yeah. They do very often become tank kings. They like a wide variety of foods. They'll take frozen, mysis brine, meaty stuff, clam, squids. They like algae, nori, sheet algae, and stuff like that. You want to make sure that they are not on a meat only diet. You want to have those fish on a mixed diet that has micro meat and things and veggies as well. So like brine shrimp that's been gut loaded with spirulina algae, that's very good. Let's see. Tanner, what's going on, man? Happy. Let's see. Hey, I just got 2 small frags a few days ago, GSP and Zoa. Very cool. That's a great way to start. Awesome way to start, in fact. Kimberly says, yay, Charlie Brown. Yeah, we name all our fish. We can talk about that in a minute. KZ says, make a video of your daily, weekly, and monthly maintenance. So I actually don't have daily or monthly maintenance. I feed my fish every day, of course, but I could do a video on that maybe. I do weekly maintenance. So I change my filters, my CO2 scrubber media, top off my doser bottles, clean the glass. That is usually twice a week. And empty my skimmer, clean it out, stuff like that. I do that every week. And then once about every 6 months or so, I'll take the skimmer out of the system and disassemble it, soak it in citric acid, soak my wave makers in citric acid, all that stuff, clean everything really well. I have a really hands-off approach. I don't touch the tank much. And I honestly think that's probably the better way to do it. So compatibility with a Moorish idol is going to come down to the individual fish themselves. There's generally nothing wrong with having powder brown tang or powder blue or any other tang for that matter in the tank with a Moorish idol, knowing that Moorish idols are very difficult fish to keep. We are getting to the point where we can actually keep them, because for a long time we couldn't. But we have better fish foods now that have the things that they need. They primarily eat sponges, so they need to have very certain specific foods. But compatibility with a tang, you wouldn't have any problem unless an individual fish took a disliking to the other one. When should you check phosphate after adding phytoplankton? So anytime I add anything to the tank, I generally won't test the parameters for at least 24 hours. That's just kind of how I do it. Before then, you could have those things that you added to the tank contributing to the test measurement. And sometimes certain things, like if you're dosing silicates, it will screw up your phosphate test kit until you're not doing that anymore. So sometimes it can be kind of hard. Hal is talking to Tanner, but welcome to the stream, my friend. Thank you so much for being here. Weld says, I want to put mollies in my tank. You can do that. You can do that. I have a sailfin molly in my refugium tank that we'll go take a look at here in a little while. Oh, man, my throat. My clownfish's name is Crangus? Crange? Yeah, I don't know what that is, but that's okay. Andy wants to know what the best vendor to get fish in your opinion. Oh, what's up, man? Nice to see you here. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. High Tide Aquatics in Oakland, California is very good. They have an actual real QT for their fish. So they don't have a lot on offer all the time, but it's because they actually QT them the proper way. If you get a fish from High Tide Aquatics, there's a very, very high chance that fish is going to live a long time. Biota is another good one. They breed fish, so they have a lot of tank raised fish, and all of those fish are in systems QT'd correctly and all of that stuff too. So they're good as well. There may be some other ones out there that I'm not super familiar with. I don't ever buy fish that I can't see. So I know some people don't have that option, but I'm fortunate to have probably at this point now, because some have closed, probably still about 6 fish stores within like 45 minutes to an hour of my house. So pretty much anything I want, I can get just by driving around, or I could even ask the store to order it. And some of the stores here QT fish as well. So, but yeah, those are maybe, High Tide or Biota are some good options for you. Let's see. Jonathan says, how long do you think I should wait before adding a Duncan in a new tank? 2 months old now. Never had one before in the past. I've had coral doing fine in my tanks that were 3 months old. I'm a big proponent of putting easy to keep corals in a tank as soon as you can. Even sometimes situations for some specific people, like day 1 or 2, but for generally speaking, a 2-month-old tank, you can put a Duncan in now. It'll be fine. As long as the parameters are pretty much where they should be, it'll be fine. I wouldn't worry about it. I would try it and see. Yeah. James says, acrylic or glass aquariums? What do you prefer? Glass? Glass. Glass, please. Oh, there's thunder.
Yeah, last week.
It did the same thing last week. The weather kicked up and we lost our internet connection. Well, if it'll hold off for an hour and 52 minutes, we'll be there. But what was I talking about? Hang on. Oh, glass aquariums. I hate acrylic aquariums. They scratch so easy. But if you're going really very huge, then your only options are acrylic, really. The biggest glass panel you can get, I think, is 4 by 12. It's about 3/4 of an inch thick. No, you can get bigger than that. Nope, I don't think you can. Like 4 by 12 is as big as you can go. So if it's a huge tank, it's got to be acrylic. But I don't like acrylic tanks. Now, they are clearer than glass tanks until they're scratched up. You can buff the scratches out, and there are even ways to do that without tearing the tank down. But it's not easy. It creates a heck of a mess. And I don't think releasing all that plastic into the aquarium is good for the fish or corals. So I would tear the tank down, polish it, and then put it back up. but that's why I don't get acrylic tanks. You don't have to do that with a glass tank. Now, a glass tank over 15 or 20 years, you're going to get some scratches in it. I have some scratches in mine.
You're dropping. We've got a couple of people saying the quality
Uh,
has gone down a bit.
Oh God, hang on, everybody. It's coming back. I was streaming on data. I was not connected to the Wi-Fi.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah, I was thinking it was kind of fuzzy too, but then now a couple of people, they'll said you're buffering and then,
My bad, everybody. Technical difficulties. There's always got to be some every stream. It's just how streams go. Even the big time professional gaming streamer guys, they have technical difficulties. So we should be back now. Thank you all for not just leaving. I appreciate that. But yes, glass all the way, as much as you can, as many times as you can. Is it still buffering?
it doesn't look like it's buffering anymore.
All right, good deal. Let's see. Chevy SS says, also, if the fish come dead, will they give you your money back if that were to happen? I don't recall what those specific companies' thing is, but most people that ship fish, if when you take possession of the fish, you have pictures of the dead fish in the bag, I would video opening the box, hold the bag up, right from Jump Street. I would set up a tripod or have someone video it for you, because as long as you have proof that the animal arrived to you deceased, a lot of the times they will either give you credit or they will replace the animal. I know Biota does it. I don't know about High Tide Aquatics, but I would imagine they probably do. But they have a website that you can go and check out and see what they offer. Kelly is installing a new mixing station pump. A sunroom cup from a heater came off. A suction cup from a heater came off and got sucked into the pump and fried it. Oh my gosh, no good. Yeah, that sucks. I'm glad you're getting that fixed. Yep, Jay said heads up. The weather just hit here. So he's on the other side of Hammond, about an hour. Yeah. Well, hopefully we can get till the end today. Ozark ordered a Waterbox 20 cube AIO, hoping to have 2 clowns and a purple firefish. Which fish would you add first? You could probably add, if those are the fish that you want, you could add them all at the same time. You wouldn't have to do first, unless it's a money thing, which is fine. And so that being said, I would probably put the firefish in first, let him find his home, and then introduce the clownfish because, well, and depending on species of clownfish, I would recommend Ocellaris or Percula, not maroons, but 2 very nice, very healthy maroon clownfish are gorgeous animals. But they do get big. So a 20 cube's not going to be a permanent home for a maroon. So I would recommend Ocellaris or Percula. You're probably looking at some of the fancy guys anyway, which fall into those categories. Clarkie get kind of big and Alardi get kind of big as well. So stick to those other 2 species. Yep. I'm just going to skip the ones about quality. I've been manually topping off my tank for years. Just got an ATO. Game changer. My question is, why didn't I get one of these years ago? You were just happily delaying never mind. I was going to say you were happily delaying the inevitable. Yeah, ATO is a game changer. In my opinion, it is a required piece of equipment on every reef tank. How's your name? Seeing, okay. Heading to the Slidell, New Orleans at the end of the month for work. What shops are a must visit for fish and corals? Sean. Oh, Jesus God. Only I could turn Sean into Xiang. Jeez, man. Sean. Yeah, sorry about that, bud. So the Slidell, New Orleans area, which, by the way, that's where I'm at, which is probably why you're asking that. But so there's a really, like, one of the oldest shops in the area is called Coral Connection. They have a huge tank in the wall upstairs. It's like 800 or 1,000 gallons. It's a very nice shop. They have a lot of awesome stuff, pretty good prices too. The shop smells very thick like cigar smoke because the owner usually has like a friggin' stogie anytime he's in the shop. So it smells like cigar smoke. And they have a parrot in there that has to be 140 years old, a macaw, and his feathers are all pretty much gone at this point. That dude is living his longest life. But Coral Connection's good. Aquatic Specialties is right around the corner from them. They're like 10 minutes apart, not even. And it is one of the best laid out, cleanest stores that I have ever been in. The store that is closest to me that is saltwater specific is Aquarium in Mandeville, like aquarium, but it's Aquarium. They're pretty good. They have a lot of nice stuff there. I'm trying to think of the other ones. It's a bit of a ride. It would be about an hour ride from the New Orleans area. There's one in Biloxi, Mississippi called Just Fish. And no, they don't have just fish. They have many things. That's another good one. I'm trying to think of any other ones. There's another one.
Consortium?
Yeah, there's another one in New Orleans called Reef Consortium. I was told just yesterday that they have a massive selection of torches and hammers right now. So maybe that's a thing that you can check out. Oh yeah, Nola said that Reef
Yeah, that's what I
Consortium.
was saying.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah. Anybody else that I would talk about? I can't. None are coming to mind. I mean, we have Delta Pets here in Slidell. They're an all-around fish store. They don't have
They got
pet store. Yeah, they have everything, and they don't really have much in the way of coral.
well, not Coral, but Rachel, Adventure Pets.
Adventure Pets in Mandeville. They are a full-service pet store as well, but they have a saltwater section. And that was actually the people who sold me the lunar wrasse that we were talking about.
They want the lunar wrasse for this fish, and
Are you sure?
I'm absolutely positive. We had Curtis with us. I remember the whole trip. Yeah.
I don't remember it that way. But okay.
Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I might be. I might be thinking different trips.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. Anyway, my wife and I do this all the time.
Yeah.
I'll say something happened yesterday and it was like 10 years ago. You know, I'll be like, the other day I was going to town. It was literally a decade ago. So anyway, let's see. Weld says, this may be off topic, but is that a koi fish on your arm? I have two on my back. Yes, it's a pair of koi fish that I had tattooed that need quite a bit of touch up. But this whole forearm and whatever's left on this arm is being saved for a very high-end reef thing, like a coral reef tattoo all the way around my arm. But I'm not getting just anybody to do it. I want it done. I want to try to find like the best like tattooist in the country who does that kind of work, and go to them and get it done. Sometimes you can catch people like that when they come into like New Orleans for like a tattoo convention, and you could book for them to do your tattoo the whole weekend. But yeah, I'm gonna need about 80,000 more subscribers probably too, because it's going to be very expensive. But that's what I want to do on this arm. My next one is going to be on this arm. It's going to go right here, which I know this is upside down, but it's going to go right there. This is my American traditional arm, and it's going to be an American traditional fishing lure or something around fishing, because that's my other passion in life is fishing. Righty says, I worry about ATOs as I hear people's dumping in their whole RODI. Is there a reliable ATO out there? Yes, there are reliable ones. I have used ice cap ones with good results. Toonsy, I've used with good results. Duetto, Duetto. something. There's something else around that word. Duetto 2, I think is what it's called. That's a good one. And I mean, there are other good ones out there that I can't recall the name of right now. Tunzi makes one called the Osmolator. That's one of the best, but you're going to pay some money for that one. But yeah, as long as you set your ATO up correctly, it is really not possible for that to happen unless it fails in the on position. So I would definitely spend the money in getting a good one, not a $30 one from Amazon. Although a lot of people have good results with those and they work for a very long time and they don't cause problems, I'd spend the money on a good one. That's one of the pieces of equipment that I would spend the money on good stuff. Jonathan says, amazing that you answer everyone's questions and comments on the videos. You help so much in my reef tanks. Well, I'm super happy that you feel that way. I enjoy reading everyone's comments, although sometimes it does take me a little while on the videos to answer the comments there. I always try to get back to every single one of them. One of the things that I learned a long time ago about YouTube is people really like it when you do that as a creator. You know, when everyone gets a one-on-one real answer from you to their comments, people really enjoy that. So it's something that I started even when I had my Minecraft channel. Did y'all know that's where this got started? It is. That's a fun story too. Monster said, wait a minute. Okay, monster collector. All right, what kind of monsters? Are we talking monster fish or like monster drinks or what? I'm just curious. How worth is it to do your own plumbing opposed to buying an all-in-one? That depends on your skills as a plumber. I am very versed in plumbing, and wow, I just smudged my glasses. Can you clean these things for me? I literally went to grab them and touched them. I'm really well versed in, I can't see anything. Everything's blurry. Plumbing and stuff. So I tend to do my own thing. But if you're not, all-in-one tanks are a lot easier to deal with. They're a lot easier to set up and easier to maintain. Everything about them is easier than a tank with a sump, except getting into those chambers to clean them out and change equipment and do stuff like that. I'll be right back. So yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable with using plumbing tools and making sure that you have, you know, leak-free connections and stuff like that, you know, plumb it up, do the thing.
Glasses.
Yay, I can see. It's so weird, man. When you start needing glasses, everything's just downhill from there. Just gets worse and worse and worse. So let's see. Charles says, have you had a chance to try Reef Mind, the new Reef AI tank assistant yet? It incorporates only trusted reef information and integrates with all controllers. So no, I have not had a chance to do that. If I'm being completely honest with you, I probably get 3 to 5 people a month right now asking me to test out their new reef keeping sort of AI app thing. And I simply don't have time. That's just what it comes down to. I did try Reefability last year for a little while, and I liked that one. It's kind of the same thing, but I have not had a chance to try the Reef Mind one yet. Nola Ant says, freshwater? Question mark. I have a freshwater tank. I have a 5-gallon planted betta fish tank. Michael says, 32-gallon BioCube, haven't changed the water in 5-6 weeks, have a mix of softies and LPS, everything is healthy and growing. Any need to change the water? So there's two sort of thought processes with that, right? There are people who are always do your water changes, and there are people who, I never do water changes and my tank is fine. Water changes are a way to take things out of the tank that we don't yet know are good or bad or otherwise. Maybe they can get through the filtration. You know, maybe the thing that the water change takes out that grows in abundance over time is half a micron in size, and no filter is going to catch that. You know, I'm just saying these are hypotheticals. So water changes are a good thing, I think. However, A lot of people are having success nowadays not doing them, myself included. I have not done a water change on this tank behind me in a long time, probably over a year. Well, no, I just set it up a year ago. So it's been probably six to 8 months since I did a water change in this tank behind me. I am dosing trace elements to the tank every day. So fluoride, iodine, bromine, that molybdenum, vanadium, selenium, those kinds of things. That one might not be in the list. But anyway, I'm dosing those things to the tank every day. So I'm giving it back what it's using up every day. And I also skim my tank quite heavily. And I have filter media that traps a lot of particulate waste. So unless my DOCs start to go up, even though I have all this filtration that I'm running, I have a big refugium too. If my DOC begins to trend up, I'm going to have to start doing water changes again to remove some of those organic carbons from the water. However, Novel Aquatics, which is run by Salem Clemens, has just released his version of a polymer cleaner for the water, and it goes after multiple different kinds of DOCs, labile, and I think non-labile is the term that he used. It's not just like carbon where it's kind of indiscriminate and whatnot. These are specific. So you can find out what kind of DOC you have and run his media to pull that specific thing out of the water. So as long as you are pulling enough junk out and putting the things that the tank needs back, you can probably continue to not do water changes. That said, water changes are the easiest way to keep a reef tank. It does not get any easier than just doing your weekly water changes. Eventually, with enough of the right kind of coral, it might reach a point where water changes are not sustainable anymore and you have to begin dosing as well. In that case, keep doing the water changes. It's the easiest way to keep a reef tank. You could keep a small tank with no filtration and just do water changes every week on it, and the tank be fine, Possum goes to Just Fish regularly. They have freshwater and saltwater livestock and supplies. That is very true. Roger says, this weekend I introduced my very first coral, soft, Zoanthus GSP. Any tips and tricks to thrive? The only thing that you need to be worried about right now is maintaining your water parameters at a stable place and in ratio to one another. That's it. You obviously have to have correct par from the right kind of lights. Your temperature needs to be stable and all that stuff. But you don't need to be feeding your corals any of the special coral foods or nothing like that. As long as you're feeding the fish that are in the tank, the corals are going to get what they need. Do your water changes, 10% every week, as long as your nitrate and phosphate will allow, and just try to be very consistent with the tank. You're going to find more success doing that than trying to employ 800 tips and tricks. Weekly water changes, feed your fish, have the lighting correct, have the flow moving around in the tank, and those corals are going to do just fine. Let's see. Fisherman's talking to Righty and says, I hear that too, so I'll only put a gallon or two of each. RODI. I got you. Yeah, so my automatic top-off reservoir it holds about 20 gallons or so, but I have 250 some odd gallons. So even if it dumped the whole 20 gallons in, it's not going to crash my tank. But you do need to be careful, That said, I have a 5-gallon on my sea cardinal tank, and I use a Hydros start on there with an ice cap ATO pump. And the Hydros acts as the ATO. It's got a 3-position level sensor, and it does the thing. I trust it, so I don't think that's ever going to be a problem. But if it went haywire and decided to dump that whole 5-gallon bucket, pump it up into the aquarium, it would overflow the tank, make a big mess, and be a very big problem. But I'm going to trust it because the sensor that I'm using has a high water cutoff. So if the pump fails in the on position and the water comes up, that cutoff is going to cut power to the pump and turn it off. So it's unless the sensor itself goes bad, nothing should happen. Sean says, I appreciate the advice. I'll try to stop by a few. Coral Connection was on my list. I travel for work and I like to visit them. Very cool. Just Fish also has pre-mixed saltwater and RO water you can buy. You bring your own containers. Good to know. Weld likes koi fish. I do too. I would love to have a koi fish pond one day, but we live in Louisiana. So, number one, it gets hot down here. And number two, we have a lot of trees in our yard that dump a lot of leaves on the ground. And so it would be a pain in the butt to keep the pond clean. So the only way that I'm ever going to be able to do it is if we have the pond in something like a screen pool house that'll keep the leaves and all that stuff off of it. We also live in the swamp in Louisiana. So there are raccoons here, there are possums here, water moccasin snakes, alligators. We literally have had alligators go down our back fence. So yeah, there's that too. Blue herons and cranes and predator birds. What do you call them?
Hawks.
Yes, hawks. I couldn't remember the name. Yeah, so we have all that. So a koi pond would be very difficult here and require a large expense to protect the tank from Louisiana, or protect the pond rather. Let's see. Tyler Nolan is great. Does tattoos of sharks and reefs and stuff. Interesting. I'll have to look that up and see. I have a coral reef with an octopus wrapped around an anchor on my right arm. That sounds very cool too. We should do a reef keeping tattoo post in the Facebook group.
Yeah.
That'd be cool to see everybody's sort of saltwater themed stuff. Pew Guy says, I like the infill. It has 2 float switches for redundancy. Okay, good. So there's another recommendation for an ATO. Weld wants to get the caddy stack for the Nano. Getting tired of this stupid sock. Yeah, I would recommend doing that because socks suck. And we are so far past filter socks now with the technology that we have in saltwater and aquariums. Nobody should ever have to run a sock again. I make 3D printed media baskets that I sell. You can find them on my website, reefrookies.com, for a bunch of different tanks. And actually, my buddy Oliver is supposed to be stopping by today, bringing me another tank so that I can model it. But yeah, once I went to filter baskets and fill them up with polyfill, I'll never run a sock again. I can't stand them. Tyler's getting a 280 gallon ready to start up in his house. Wow, big tank. Nice. How would I go about stocking if I want the most peaceful I can get? I want reef and fish. Well, if you want the most peaceful thing that you can get, I would recommend staying away from tangs. Foxface are relatively peaceful when they're by themselves. Chalk bass are super cool. Stay away from damsels as well. Clownfish can be mean, but generally they're okay. You should look at wrasses, W-R-A-S-S-E, anthias, cardinal fishes. Yeah, that's about it. Trying to think of what else might be super peaceful. Gobies, blennies usually are super peaceful too. Yeah, no tangs though. Because that's part of having tangs is coming with the aggression. Weld says, I'll have to buy the files to print. Not sure what you're talking about there, my friend. Jessica wants to know, is 30% water change too much? It's not too much as long as you have the nitrate and phosphate levels to support still having nitrate and phosphate after you've done that water change. And also, if your calcium, alkalinity, magnesium are not too far off from where the saltwater mixed at, then you could do it. But if it's going to change your alkalinity by like more than 1 DKH, I would not recommend doing that big of a change. Can you recommend a budget-friendly return pump for a basement sump and first floor display tank? Any tips for configuring a fish room housing supporting equipment? So I don't actually know of any budget pumps that would be able to push a head pressure that far. Reef Octopus Varios pumps are very expensive, but they're expensive for that reason. They're engineered for really high head pressures. They can, the The middle of the road one can do like 15 feet or 16 feet or something like that. Jabo might have a pump, like a budget pump that is rated to have a lot of head pressure like that, but I'm not 100% certain. Now, as far as configuring a fish room, man, that's just going to depend on what kind of space you have, because you're basically just limited by your imagination. On a tank that big, I would probably run an external skimmer sitting on its own table, so it's very easy to monitor. I would run the biggest sump that you could possibly run. That extra water volume is just going to do tons for you. I know people who have even gone as far as to have like a 200-gallon big black Rubbermaid full of live rock, and that's their sump. They just dump hermit crabs and snails and stuff in there and go with the biological filtration. It's a great idea, but it really depends on how much space you have. Ginger says, do you have a video on upgrading, changing tanks, and how to make the transfer? Yes. Not exactly that, but I have a video, if you search my channel, for tips for moving a reef tank. Or you can just go to videos and just scroll down until you find it. But yes, I do have a video on that, and I think there's a lot of good information in that video that will be helpful to you.
Should be able to find them through the website as well.
Oh, yeah, you should also be able to find it through the website. Might be easier to find it that way. So you go to reefrookies.com, and then you click the education tab, go down to the reefing insights, and look through that list of blog posts.
I got to reteach you how the website works.
Oh, we done changed something. Hang on. So you go to the website, you click.
Drop down on education.
There's a drop down on education.
And you go straight to moving a reef tank.
Oh, and then you go straight to moving a reef tank. I added extra steps. My bad. I don't go to my own website that often. But anyway, yeah, there's some information about that I have done that'll probably be helpful to you. Cy had 3-inch Schedule 80 water leak. Oh, at work last week, nut on a union split. Everyone said to get me because I had saltwater and worked with plumbing all the time. High dollar Hayward stuff. Oof. I'm glad I don't have to buy that for my tanks and stuff. Yeah. I don't dose anything in my reef tank, but I do water changes every week, and I have 90 pounds of rock in 60-gallon cube. Very cool. Yeah, having a lot of rock is a good thing. I'm looking at turning my Fluval 240 LED into a reef tank until I can afford the tank I want. It will be run on a canister filter. What do you think about the Higer 24/7 wave maker? Higer, I saw another comment. Higer, they make some okay pumps. I have a little one in my in my Sea Cardinal tank. What is going on? My voice is trying to not work. Sorry about that. But Higer makes some good pumps. So, as long as it has good ratings on Amazon, it'd probably be okay. And Gene says, hi, somewhat rookies. That's pretty funny. Kimberly has some Japanese fancy goldfish. Interesting. Willie says, well, that was interesting. Apparently my work Wi-Fi has live videos blocked. Yeah.
Oh, okay, you made it in. I was talking to on Facebook.
Oh, okay. So my wife said you got here. Cool. Love the channel, and thank you for sharing the knowledge. Everyone subscribe. Yes, please do subscribe to the channel. We have over 20,000 subscribers, and the first time that you get an award from YouTube for having a certain number of subscribers is 100,000. So we have a long way to go before I get my play button, but I think we'll get there eventually. I think this channel is going to do it. Grandma says, one of my Rhodactis mushrooms has 4 mouths and doesn't seem to be splitting. Just give it time. Just give it time, unless it has holes in it. But if you're sure they're mouths, which, it's pretty obvious, so I imagine that you are, just give it time. It's going to split. It'll just take a while. Osprey is a fish-eating bird. I'm sure you have them there. I think that we probably do. We also have bald eagles, natural wild bald eagles in Louisiana. Bet most of y'all didn't know that. They were, to my understanding anyway, they got out of a zoo when during a really bad hurricane, And now they are thriving here in our marshlands, even with the heat and all of that. Almost every time I go fishing, I see a bald eagle either on a nest or flying around. So that's really freaking cool. That is, I mean, it's adaptation. Of course, it also included some, human intervention because we had a zoo and they were placed there. But usually bald eagles only go to zoos if they're already hurt and people think they can't survive in nature. Well, these got out and apparently survived because now we have, I won't say indigenous because they weren't always here, but now we have bald eagles. I'm waiting for my aquarium to arrive in the next 2 months. I already have rock. I'm going to put them in a barrel. What else should I do to help me prepare to get through the phases faster? Okay, so if you're going to be I'm not going to use the term cooking. If you're going to be dark curing live rock, this is what you do. You put the rock in a barrel, you put salt water in there at 1.025, you get the salinity up, you put a heater in to get it up to 80 degrees, and you dump in a bottle of like Microbacter 7 or Tropicmare and Nitrobiotic or Microbe Lift Night Out 2 and Special Blend, and you just let it go. You let it sit there and spin, preferably with no light on it for at least a month. 6 weeks would be better. 2 months would be even better than that. And by the time the tank gets there, all of your rock will be live rock. Then you can set the tank up with that, keeping it wet the entire time. And you can pretty much eliminate the nitrogen cycle completely. It's still going to happen a little bit. There might still be a little fluctuation in there. But that pretty much negates that totally. And then like day one, you're off to the races. Set the tank up. You get the rock and sand in, you let it run for 24 hours to settle out, whatever, come to the right temperature, and boom, fish go in immediately. I love doing it that way. Charles says, I'm getting my ICP test results back in a few days. SAC 254 to evaluate DOC. If high, is it recommended to use catalytic activated carbon? I don't have any direct experience with it, but I know that it's a good product. It works very well to do what it does. I use the BRS stuff, the ROX 0.8 rocks is what we call it. I use that carbon when I need to, and it does the job in a reactor, but the catalytically activated stuff is more pure, pulls more stuff out of the water for longer. So it just works better and it works longer before it's spent. But it's also very expensive. Nicholas says, I can't get rid of hair algae. Any tips? Yes. Funny, we covered this at the beginning of the stream and we're back. We've come full circle. So hair algae, number one, if it's very long, nothing's going to eat it. So the very first thing that you have to do, and you have to commit to doing it, is every day, every other day, manually remove it from the tank. Get in there with some gloves, some tweezers, some something, and literally physically pull it out and throw it away. That's step number one. Step number two is to begin correcting your probably excessive nutrients. So nitrate and phosphate, bringing those down into range. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. There's more, but we'll leave it at that. Bringing them down to where they need to be. But you could be getting a false reading on nitrate and phosphate because of the algae sucking them up. The algae, using it up. So checking on the parameters, making sure they look good is another thing. Manually removing it is step one. And then having an adequate amount of herbivores in the tank is the key. Every tank has the capability to grow algae. Every reef tank that everybody is running that doesn't have algae in it is because there's enough herbivores in there to keep the algae cut down. If they lost their herbivores within a week or two, they're going to have algae in the tank because it's not being consumed. Those are the big three, right? Things that are going to eat it, keeping it ripped out small enough for those things to eat it, and keeping the nutrients and parameters in check. Jessica says 0.3 to 5 phos and 45 nitrate. Yeah, you have plenty of room to do even 50, 60, 70% water changes if you need to, Jessica. Weld says, I have an 800-gallon indoor caiman enclosure. I don't know if I dislike you or like you, because that's cool. I would like to have some dwarf caimans. I have been told that I can't. You told me that we can't have dwarf caimans. It would be mean to the caiman? Well, I mean, I guess that would have.
Those are the little alligators.
Yes.
Yes, no, absolutely not.
I don't know what she was just thinking about.
I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah, they're
axolotls.
axolotls.
Yes.
That is not a caiman, my babe.
No, it is.
She asks a lot of questions. Yeah, no, dwarf caimans would be freaking cool, man. My caiman's name is Atriox. That's a great name for a dinosaur lizard. She's hand tame, love pets on her chins and back. I take her fishing with me on a harness. She eats, I fish. Dude, you have to send me some pictures. I want to see this. As a matter of fact, well, let's not put it in the Facebook group because it's not reef keeping and we've told other people don't do that. But I want to see it. Share it with me on Facebook, something. You should be doing a YouTube video channel on your freaking caiman. You should be. If you're not, you should. Is it possible to run a long-term reef aquarium using an external canister filter? Yes, it absolutely is. Many people over the years have run reef tanks on external canister filters. The thing that you have to make sure that you're doing is being religious with the cleaning. Now, there's multiple ways you can set up a canister filter too. You can have it as a filter with pads and sponges and things like that in it that are physically capturing the particulate in the water, or you can set it up as what they call a cryptic zone, where it has biomedia in it that becomes populated with non-photosynthetic bacteria and organisms and things, and your water flows through there, and those organisms use the nutrients and the water for their biological processes and convert nitrates into nitrogen gas and other things like this, right? The sulfur and non-sulfur bacterias. If you do it as a cryptic zone, then you don't clean it out all the time, right? But it also doesn't really, it does, but not to the extent of a filter pad canister capture the particulates in the water. If you set it up with the filters and stuff, you need to be cleaning them out, rinsing them in old salt water weekly when you do your water changes. So you pull your water change out, you put the new water in, then you take the filter off, shake it out in the old salt water. It keeps all the bacteria alive, but it knocks the gunk out of the filter. Clean the canister out completely, put it all back together every week. Excuse me. That's the thing with canister filters, though. They work absolutely fine to run your reef tank on a canister filter or hang on the back equipment, or you could just do water changes. There's so many different ways that we can do a reef tank. And that's one of them. And it works absolutely fine. All right. So we're almost at the 2-hour mark, but I'm going to go ahead, and my wife is outside pulling limbs out of a tree now. I guess she just needed a break. But so anyway, I'm going to walk over here real quick. I'm going to take a voice break for a second. I'll be right back. Take a look at my aquarium. Enjoy. Oh, freaking. Is your caiman a dwarf caiman or is it a full-size caiman? That's so cool. I'm going to top off my coffee too, so bear with me for just a sec. Da-da-da. Did you just felt like you needed to go move some sticks?
No.
I looked up and you were outside. Like, what's going on?
There was a limb hanging down from the tree right there in the middle of those three.
Oh, okay.
And it looked like I could reach it, and I'm like, that's just gonna fall in the yard later, so I went out there and pulled it down and put it on the market.
Okay. Well, cool deal. All right. I'm back. Yes.
Do a tank tour.
It's a dwarf caiman. Oh, we do need to do a tank tour, don't we? All right. Well, let me get my lens and we'll do a tank tour and feed the fish. Actually, let's go ahead and feed the fish first. I always do this really far away. Let me move my chair, and I'll move this up here where you guys can see better. There we go. I wonder if I put the orange lens on, will it look better for the feeding? Oh yeah, definitely. All right, so this is the pellet food that I feed my fish. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, I hope it didn't close the stream. It didn't. All right, hang on. Hang on, let me close this. Oh, come on, man. There. Sorry about all that. I put the lens on and it did all kind of stuff, so we're just not going to do that. Anyway, this is the food that I feed my fish. Yes, I know it's backwards, but you can see the label. It's DKI Easy Reefs marine fish pellets. My fish go crazy over these things. They absolutely love them. Even my bangeye, where's he at? I don't see the bangeye.
He was there when I fed yesterday, but I don't see him now.
Oh, he's back here in this corner. I see him. Look, the fish are following me. But yeah, they really like this fish food. Even the bangeye that usually don't eat pellets, he will eat these pellets. He likes them. And all the LPS that end up grabbing them like them too. My lawnmower Blenny eats them. I mean, pretty much everything eats them. The hermit crabs go crazy. Aptasia even like them. I have one of those right down here. Big Aptasia. I have several actually that I need to get rid of. But I always mix it up a little bit. I feed my fish various foods because I think they all bring a little something to the table. This is another one that I use. It's a Dimax Marine Superior. It has algae and stuff in it. So it's good for the tanks. It's a good fish food. And all the fish like this one except the bangeye. He won't eat these pellets. Chalk bass is going nuts. He's a big old fat dude. I still don't know what species these damsels are, but I have 3 of them, and they're almost solid black. And they get a little spicy every now and then in the tank, but they've been pretty good so far. All right, and give them a little more. I'll have to we'll have to put a block of frozen over in the tank for the powder brown, because he's not eating pellets yet, but he's going to get the picture when he gets into this tank and sees all these other fish eating them. He'll be good to go. All right. Well, let's get the camera off the tripod. We'll put it back over here where it goes. So let's grab this and we'll flip it around. And for anyone who hasn't seen it before, I'll show you my wine glass tank, which needs some maintenance. But this is it. It's about 2 feet tall, and it has a bunch of pulsing xenia in it. And this is a Montipora digitata. And that SPS back there is a purple Stylopora. So this is a pretty neat thing. Weld says, name the damsels Black Hole Damsel. In the wine glass tank, there is a Harlequin starfish. Harlequin shrimp. I think I did that last time. He's right there. He's the only inhabitant at this point, I think. There was a pom-pom crab in there, but I can't see him. It's too thick with, he used to like hang out in that hole back there, but I don't see his pom-poms anymore, so I'm not sure if he's in there anymore. But anyway, that's the wine glass tank. So let's throw this filter on, and we'll start at this end over here. Got lots of cool stuff. Big feather duster back there. These are Jason Fox candy cane, pinwheel candy canes. That is an Australian gold torch, which is a little different from your regular torches, which are like these over here. This is a Dragon Soul, New York Nicks, Holy Grail, and a blacklight torch. So they're doing really good, but the Australian gold is a little bit different. And you can see just by looking at that my flow is very low in this tank. So I'm going to be getting some new wave makers here real soon. Pink bird's nest. This is a Spongiotus. And then I've got a Walt Disney acro there. That's a rainbow Pasillipora. This is a fuzzy green acro. That's a Garf bonsai. Some Pavona, cactus Pavona. This is a smooth skin acro, a green one. That's another fuzzy green acro right there. I'll zoom in on it. I don't know if it has a name or anything. It's a little bit different in color than the other fuzzy acros that I have. So we're just going to have to let that one grow out and see. It's encrusting very well, and it's going to start exploding here real soon. That is a little nub of this one. It's a blue-tipped acro. This is the contraband digitata that I was telling you guys about earlier. You can see that sort of diagonal stripe. And about 2 polyps width in from the edge of that diagonal stripe, you can see where the stripe was. And you can see that it's starting to regrow back over that skeleton again. So that's cool. Yeah, so that is a smooth skin acro. The polyps are incredibly small. And it's just a different species, really. Yep, so anyway, that's that. And then the blue tipped acro, I can never really get a good picture of the color of this thing. Those tips are like so blue, they're almost white. Another nice acro here, mostly lime green. This is another Spongiotas on the back wall back there. It's going to be taking over my overflow. You can see where the original frag disc was in the top right. It has grown out all that other area. So that's pretty cool. Big Blasto. Big Duncan. Let me zoom out. Yeah. A different color Pavona over here on this side. And Holy Grail Micromusa. Maynard, the Lawnmower Blenny. And then we've got some other candy canes and Micromusas down here that are all recovering from a high power bleaching event. That's a purple and gold Blasto. A Galaxia with some feeder tentacles out because I just fed the tank. Let me get down here where you can see. Yep, there's a good look at one of those damsels. And there's the other one. They're pigs, man. But yep, Galaxia coral. Some more recovering high par event corals back there. That guy is a Dragon Soul Favia, and he took a bad hit when the phosphate spiked up to 1.0 and is still recovering. But as long as there's color there, we're going to let him recover. That's a Project X Fungia. Don't blow everybody's eardrums with me trying to fiddle with it. All right, there we go. Okay, yeah, my other microphone battery ran out. So let's finish our tour here. We'll flip this back around. Let's see. We were talking about these guys. Told you about the torches already. There's various hammers over here, just normal stuff, nothing super special. And a giant Aptasia, just part of it. And then the world famous massive purple rock flower nymph. Couple of other rock flowers around here, and one back there on the back of the rocks too. And then if we come around here, let's see. This is one of my favorite acros that I have. I can't wait for it to grow out. That is a Wolverine. It's going to have yellow skin and bright pink polyps. It's going to look gorgeous. Then this one, the little twofer right there, is a dragon scale acro. I actually don't know the name of this one, but it's doing quite well. It came from Terra Reef as well. And then another big fuzzy acro here. And the big bird's nest that came out of the wine glass tank a little while ago. And it grew out in the wine glass from a frag. And then now it's here. Big, huge piece. Love that thing. Got to move it. But it's already starting to touch and encrust on the overflow. It's going to get hung off of the back of this thing right here, I believe. That's where it's going to go. This is another favorite acro that I cannot wait until it grows out. This is called Rock Candy. And even though you can't really see it from here, it's got purple skin with green edges, yellow, the little things where the polyps come out, and then hot pink polyps. This thing is going to be absolutely gorgeous when it grows out and gets big, and I can't wait. And this is a no-name acro. It's probably a wild-caught one. It grows so incredibly slow that it's only put on 1 millimeter in about a year. Crazy slow growth on that thing. So we might never know what that is. But yeah, that's the tank. Yeah, rock flowers, these guys are very happy, very healthy. They've been around for quite some time. And that guy is, I mean, it's easily as big as my hand. You can't get that's a normal frag plug right there that's like 3 inches in front of the rock flower. So that's like 12 millimeters across that hole. This thing is huge. It's really hard to get a feel for how big it is. But rock flowers are one of my favorite things. I really like them. And honestly, they're super easy to keep as long as you give them what they need. No big deal. I love the formation on this one, the way that it's shaped. Love that. Super cool. Dinner plate rock flower. Yeah. So for those of you who have never seen it before, we will go over here. I will show you my fish room. So this is it. I'm fortunate enough to be able to have this. That's mission control. This is my 40-gallon breeder, which is a refugium, but it's a mixed refugium, and yes, it's dirty. Hard for you to see, but there are bubble tip nymphs in here. There's corals in here like that guy, and a bunch of zoas and pallies and stuff over on this side. And then over here, I have macroalgae. That's the sailfin molly. He's been in here about 6 months, maybe more. Looking good, different kind of macroalgae and stuff. My sump has this tank and the main tank both connected into the sump. So they both run into here, runs through, and is pumped back on 2 different return pumps. UV sterilizer, carbon, dosing setup, CO2 scrubber, all the power stuff controlling everything. And then the locker junk. And look, these test kit trays, this is something that I designed, and I sell these on Etsy for Salifert and Hannah. And I need to design the Red Sea ones. And yes, you can mix Salifert and Hannah test kits on my tray. So check those out on my website. Let's let Minus. Come on, bud. No, he didn't bark yet. But that's okay. But yeah, fish rooms are always a mess, man. It's hard to do otherwise. So anyway, can you donate some of that Coraline? I have done that for people before, yes. You know, local people come over to your house and, you know, get a frag from you or whatever. And then, you know, you get them snail shell or something that's covered in Coraline algae. I need my coffee.
There's a question up.
Okay.
You started from Jamie, so.
All right.
Get up to that.
Yep. Let me go.
Everybody else was just kind of talking about the live, but she did have a question.
So let's see. From Jamie. Okay, I found it. There was some other. Nope. Oh, hang on. That might be Oliver. Y'all might get to meet Oliver.
And it might just be my like bark.
Or it could just be the dog likes to bark. Yeah. That's all it is. Okay. All right. Let's get back to the questions. Peter says, I saw a video that someone put a sponge pre-filter before the canister filter and filled the filter with biomedia. Yeah. So that's a thing you can do. That's running it like a cryptic zone, basically. Smoking says, my RODI unit is chewing through DI resin like 100 gallons of water. We use chloramines here. Got a chloramine carbon filter, and that helped for another 20 gallons, but it's still using resin fast. There could be a lot of reasons why it's doing that. Make sure the pressure is correct. It needs to be between 60 and 80 PSI going into the RODI. It could be something in the water, the tap water, that is making that happen. I just saw something else. Like CO2. Must have been a car just passing. High concentrations of CO2 in the water going into your RODI will cook through your DI resin like that. So I would recommend checking the pressure and testing your source water with an ICP water test and find out what's in it. And then if something's crazy high, maybe you can strip that out first before it goes through the RODI and try that. The Cayman is 4'9", weighs 47 pounds. She's going to hit another growth spurt maybe next year. She'll start packing more weight on.
Yeah, that's why we can't have it.
That's so cool. I want one so bad. There was one pretty recently at Delta Pets here in Slidell. He was about 12 inches maybe. Jamie says, hey, Logan, it's Andy. Hi, Jamie. So I have a tote I'm using as a QT for a bristletooth tang and a Midas blenny. About to start copper, but nitrate are 0 with 0.6 phosphate. Water is cloudy. Water change. Yes, do a big old water change, maybe even 100% one before you start with the copper. Ammonia is 0.02, pH 7.5, alk 7.3, temp 75. Yeah, I would just do a big water change before you start. I think some salted agave zoas would look good in the wine glass tank. That is an interesting topic because I happen to have some of those in the refugium. They look like crap right now because they're not under reef lighting. They're just sort of brown. But I do have that. Willie had a 62-hour work week. Me too, man. Let's see. We were talking about rock flowers. Oh, okay. Do rock flowers move much? Not really. They can. Don't let anybody tell you that they can't, because they definitely can. They're an anemone just like any other. But typically, once they find a happy place, they usually don't. They like having their foot in a hole in the rock or in a crevice between two rocks down near the sand bed. So, excuse me. They're generally pretty easy to keep as long as you keep your parameters sort of in line where they need to be. I mean, this big purple and the green has been through 2 tank almost crashes and resets. They have been through hell and back, and they look great. They're just happy as they can be. Ginger says, adding pumps to RODI units to increase output, won't that negate the effectiveness to remove bad stuff? Help my brain understand this. So the part of the RODI unit that requires the correct amount of pressure to function properly is the RO membrane. And if it doesn't have the correct pressure, then it doesn't capture the things that it's supposed to capture. Now, if you over pressurize one, it's also not going to work correctly. So it has to be the correct amount of water pressure for that specific membrane. If you want to increase output, you don't increase pressure, you change to a higher output membrane. So where some are 75 gallon per day, you could rather install a 150 gallon per day one. And the membrane itself flows more water through the physical design of the membrane, but still captures the particulates at that correct pressure. So you wouldn't, unless your pressure is below 60, you wouldn't bring the pressure up to increase output. You would change the membrane. Hope that answers your question. I think it did. Our BTA, a bubble tip anemone versus rock flowers. I know clowns won't host rock flowers, but when I had a BTA before my AC unit issue, it seemed like it was never happy either. Bubble tips they're maybe a little more finicky than rock flowers are when it comes to like water parameters and stability and stuff like that, especially flow and par. Rock flowers don't need a lot of par. They are still photosynthetic. They can have a lot of par, but they don't need it, right? So these guys are down in about 65 to maybe 80 par down here in this corner. Bubble tips regularly like to be in about 200, anywhere from 150 to 300 really. But I mean, I don't find bubble tips really that difficult, but a lot of people do. And usually that comes from the tank not being quite mature enough yet, not being quite stable enough yet for them. It's really hard to say, especially when you compare one thing to the other, Kimberly says, could I have rock flowers and pulsing zinnia in a 16 gallon? Wow. Could you? Probably. Yeah. That's going to be about like this. So yeah, I mean, you probably could if you did it right and try to keep them separated a little bit. But the thing with NIMS is they're going to go where they want. And that's probably going to be right in the middle of your pulsing zinnia. It's just the way they do. You okay over there?
Yeah.
You yawning. Gotta stop all that. My voice puts her to sleep.
It does. You have a very soothing voice to me anyway.
I'm glad people think I have a soothing voice because my throat feels like ground meat all the time. But yeah, so very good questions, everybody. It's pretty cool. Thanks for hanging out so far. Does anybody else have a question about anything we can talk about? In the meantime, if you haven't noticed, we updated some of the branding for Reef Rookies. It's much more professional looking now. So make sure that you are interacting in the right places and whatnot. Thank you very much, Hal. We appreciate that a lot. I really don't think there's ever going to be a Cayman happening here, but it would be very cool. Very cool indeed. Yeah, so what else? We changed up some branding. We're going to be trying to introduce some new things here soon. Really appreciate that super chat, Hal. That means a lot, man. We, your guys' support and watching the videos and all of that stuff is the way that we keep this thing going. So it's very appreciated. If you didn't know, I do one-on-one consultations as well. You can find those on my website. I 3D print things for reef keeping. You can find those on my website. We have a weekly Zoom chat. It is a paid to enter Zoom chat unless you are a YouTube channel member or a website member. You get one free per month to join the Zoom chat if you are one of those things.
Email admin@reefrookies.com if you haven't already to get your code.
If you are a YouTube channel member or a website member and you have not yet gotten a code for the Zoom chat, you need to email admin@reefrookies.com and request your code. And you'll get into one of the weekly Zoom chats at no charge. Otherwise, we do charge for that because that's how we're trying to make a living doing all this stuff. And yeah, so that's on the website too. There are educational resources there, blogs and articles. And Kelly dropped a super chat on us. Thank you so much, Kelly. More funds for the dinosaur lizard. We're gonna do that one day. We're gonna do that one day. I'm gonna talk her into it. I mean, we live in Louisiana. I could probably go to the ditch and get an alligator, But anyway, so those are all things you can find on the website. What else do we have available for people to see and do and participate in? That is about all I can think. We have a Discord server. If you like hanging out and chatting with people that way, you can find that on the website. I have a Facebook group, Reef Rookies with Logan, private Facebook group, the best reefing Facebook group on all the internet.
following the link on our website is the best way to get there, or the easiest way.
The easiest way to get there is to go to the website. Yeah, follow the link from the website. That'll get you to the right group. Hal loves the new logo. Sandy rocks. Thank you very much. Yes, I think she does too. Let's see what else. What else? Jamie says, not a question, but exciting. Ordered live rock from Gulf Live Rock out of Tampa, and it came with beautiful sponges, what I think is a brain coral, miscellaneous corals, clams, macroalgae, all covered in coralline. Nice. That sounds like it was rock that was down there for a couple of years, which is very, very awesome. Super happy about that. The premium deco live rock, so many colors and living things. That's good to hear. I got some live rock from Tampa Bay, and it had a lot of that stuff on it too, but a lot less organisms, so I don't think mine was quite as old. Had little bitty pistol shrimps that I'm really upset that didn't make it in the shipping of the rock to me. And then I got some Marco rock rubble, and it didn't come with much, or maybe the rubble came from Tampa. I don't remember. No, I think it came from Marco. It was very clean. It didn't have much in the way of live things on it and all of that, but it was still very clean rock, and it was obviously very alive because, I mean, it has a smell, and it had that. I did get some other live rock from Marco Rock that came from the Keys, and it did have some little crabs and shrimps and things like that in it. So yes, good quality live living rock with sponges and macroalgae and microalgae and all that is one of the best things that we can put in our tanks by far. Even if you already set your tank up and it has dry rock in it and it's 2 years old, you can add some live rock from Florida Keys and it will increase the diversity in your tank by a gazillion fold. I've got a jar package coming from TBS to add to the cool. Awesome. You guys are, I like hearing when people do the things that I'm telling you to do. It's really good. You know, there's been a lot of people in the group posting that they have tanks and we're a year in now and here's what the tank looks like and they look freaking awesome. You know, that's amazing. So what do I have going on next for my own tank? We have wave makers and a skimmer and something else, return pumps coming from Delua. So I'm going to be upgrading my wave makers, my skimmer and my return pumps to all Delua stuff so that it all works with the Delua lighting ecosystem. So I'm super excited about that. I think I'm going to have 6 of their prop wave makers around the tank, and I'll really be able to move the flow around. Hopefully that's going to just add more awesomeness to the tank, you know. And their great white skimmers work very well. Really good skimmer. My ice cap skimmer is doing awesome. I really like it, but you know, sometimes you got to change things up a bit. My ice cap one's a little old. I'm going to swap it out. I'm going to clean it real good, keep it for a backup just in case, you know. But so that's what's going on with my tank here soon. Do you need to QT live rock from Tampa in case it has some bad stuff? It is always a good idea to do that. The way that I recommend people do that is to set up a tank or a tote or a something, container of some kind, saltwater, heater, flow pump. That's all you need. And you get it up to temperature. You put the rock in there. You leave it in there for 2 weeks. It's going to let a bunch of crap come off of the rocks. You can do a couple of water changes, you know, every 3 or 4 days, do 100% water change. And it's going to let the decay come off of the rocks because there's going to be some die off from shipping. It's going to let any of the dead organisms like worms and stuff like that either start decaying, and the other things will clean them up. And then it also gives you the opportunity to find any like gorilla crabs or pistol shrimp that you don't want, or like mantis shrimps, because we have those down in the Florida Keys. There are mantis shrimps down there, the bludgeoning kind, not the spearing kind, I don't think, but the kind with a hammer. So you can find stuff like that, you know, big fireworms and all those things. You'll be able to see those and you'll be able to take care of them before it goes into your main display. Is the risk of unwanted things on ocean live rock worth the risk? Yes, 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 yes. 100,000 times yes. There is nothing that we can add to our tank that is going to be more packed with more biodiversity than something that comes out of the ocean. Some things are packaged in a bottle that came out of the ocean, or a bag, or a box, or something like that. But there's nothing that we can get and put in our tank that's going to be better than like live sand from the Florida Keys. There is a slight chance that you could import some sort of a pathogen, but in healthy ecosystems, those are not the abundant thing. So they're already being outcompeted by everything else. And when you bring it into your tank, it's just good. It's good. It's good. Do it. If you're worried about hitchhikers like shrimps and crabs and mantis shrimps and bad corals and bad algae, stuff like that, just get live sand. It has orders of magnitude more surface area than rocks anyway. It's going to bring more bacteria to your tank than the rock will. So just get live sand, instead of live rock. But yes, it's absolutely worth the risk. John caught the live from England. Very cool, man. Nice to have you here. Good afternoon, Logan. Thanks for your help and excellent expertise and support. Just your thoughts on making water changes when treatment for dinos, and when turn down the lights and use Dr. Tim bacteria. So you can put the bacteria in at any time. Turning down the lights might help a little bit, but it's not going to solve the problem. Water changes when you have dinos usually make it worse. So you need to identify what kind of dinoflagellate you have with a microscope, and then we can know how to treat it, because different ones have to be treated in different ways. I would not recommend doing a blackout. It's probably just going to make it worse, or it'll make it look like it's better for a little while, and then it'll come back. Yeah, I have a whole video on dinos that you could take a look at on my channel if you wanted to. But really, the first step is make sure the nutrients are sufficient in the tank and in the correct range and ratios, and then ID the kind that you have with a microscope so that we know how to treat them. Let's see. Ozark wants to know what skimmer I would recommend for a Waterbox 20 cube all-in-one. Either an Ice Cap Nano or a Bubble Magus Mini Q. There's another one. A Tunzi 904.1 is another great one. Those three are going to be good options for you. You can find most of those on my Amazon product recommendations page on my website. Those are affiliate links. If you use them, it costs you nothing, and it makes Jeff Bezos pay me a little bit of money. So go use those links. Let's see what else we got. Sage says, I guess I'm mostly talking about ick and whatnot on Ocean Live Rock. It's possible, but it's not probable. However, you could QT that rock for 80 days in a system that doesn't have fish in it, and all that kind of stuff would die off, except Uronema. Uronema doesn't die off in the absence of fish. It can live without fish. But the chances of bringing Uronema in on live rock from the Florida Keys is kind of slim. I guess it's not impossible, but there's a good chance that none of that's going to happen. Hi from the UK. What are your thoughts on lids for the sump and display with reference to gas exchange? If you have a skimmer on the system that is pulling fresh air from outside those contained compartments, then you're going to be okay, probably. But putting solid lids across everything in the tank will affect your gas exchange. You might find that you have a problem keeping your pH up at the level where we want it to be, which is like in the 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, something like that. Doesn't happen for everybody, but it could happen. So I don't run solid lids on any part of my system except over the filter media baskets, because that's the only area in my system that has water splash for like salt creep or anything like that. So I don't run lids on that. I don't have a lid on the sea cardinal, even though I have a firefish in it. But he is the dominant fish in that tank, so he has no reason to run from anything, so he's not jumping out. Could he? Yes, maybe. But it's just him and a Watchman goby and a pistol shrimp in there. Yeah, nothing else has a lid. Well, I do have lids on the QT tank. I 3D printed some lids for the QT tank. just to keep that tang from jumping out, because it's a small tank, big fish. He might want to try to jump. Kimberly has night out and special blend. Should have just dumped them into the 33 or follow the instructions. Kimberly, really? You don't want to just go all willy-nilly dumping bacteria in there. You're going to get a bacterial bloom. Then you're going to have to fix that. Thought I taught you better than that. No, I'm just kidding. Definitely don't go haywire. Don't go ham on it. Follow the instructions, dose it as they say to do so, because that is a sufficient amount to put it in the tank without causing a bacterial bloom. Yeah. Weld says a lot of sick or infected fish in the ocean are eaten by predators. Yes, they are. Whoop. I gave my polycarbonate lid away. Too much condensation. Yeah, I don't like lids either. Jamie says the DT's parameters, nitrate 2.7, phos 0.18. Okay, so you got a nitrate phosphate imbalance there. Alk is good. Salinity's, it's a little high. I'd like it at 1.026, but that could be test variation. pH is 7.8. Calcium is over 600. That's not ideal. Magnesium 1320. Temp 81.8. Ammonia 0.09. Water change or start running the skimmer? I would water change with salt at 1.024, 10%, to start bringing that salinity back into range a little bit. We got to get that calcium figured out in your tank. And I would also begin probably dosing nitrate to get it up to around 10. I don't think that it really needs a water change right now. I mean, there's always going to be a little trace amount of ammonia in there, especially if you're using Hanna checkers. Your temperature is quite a bit higher than I would like to see. It's at 81.8. I would bring that down to 78 at the most. And if you wanted to, you could bring it down to like 76.5 or 77. That's where I run my tank. Excuse me. Gwen says, so why are my rock flowers open but not fluffy around the edges like yours? One is hiding entirely under a rock. What could be the problem? It could be lighting. It could be flow. It could be that they are bleached and trying to recover. It could be that they don't like the water parameters in your tank, or it could be that they are maxi mini anemones and not rock flower anemones. I see those get confused all the time. Maxi minis don't have a fringe around the outside like rock flowers do. So it could be one of those. Look them up and see if the pattern on them is the same. Maxi minis look very different than rock flowers. With that being said, they are still an anemone, and if they don't like their environment, they will try to get out of that environment. So, oof, my battery's on 15%. You might have to get my charger for me, baby. I'm sorry.
On my way. That's why I'm here.
Yeah. I pay you. But yeah, with the rock flowers, I mean, if they're not happy, there is something in the water. You might try running activated carbon in the tank for a couple of weeks to see if that draws something out that's pissing them off. If you are running carbon and it's tumbling, it could be putting dust particles into the water that could be pissing them off. I mean, there's so many things that it could be. Or it could just be that they're a little bit unhealthy and they're trying to hide, and you'll have to unplug the one with the big box. They're trying to hide away and heal. That could be it too. Let's see. AJKBBQ. Wow, what a name. Hello, I enjoy your channel. How do you lower water temperature in a small biocube? Temperature goes up to, hang on. Let's plug this in. Yeah, there we go. Temp goes up to 82, 83 degrees, and heater is unplugged. Corals are stressing out. So your best option is to put some fans on the tank, blowing fresh air across the surface. If it's a biocube, you might have to open the lid. Or you can freeze some water bottles, make sure they're real clean on the outside. You could float them in the AIO chamber in the back to drop the temperature. But that's about it, unless you're going to put a chiller on it. And if it's a BioCube with a lid that closes, you're going to have it closed to keep the lights on for your corals. So really, if it's getting up to that temperature because of the ambient air around the tank, really your only long-term solution is to add a chiller, which is going to be quite costly. You can DIY them. I have DIY'd chillers before, but that's going to be the only way that you're going to keep that tank down at the right temperature, without having to swap a water bottle out every 2 hours or something like that. Kimberly says, yes, sir. And Jamie said, or add nitrobiotic. I would not add the nitrobiotic right now with your nitrates at 2.7 because it's going to take them to 0. And we both know what happens when that happens. Don't add the nitrobiotic or the special blend or anything like that. In fact, what I would recommend for you right now, Jamie, is to dose nitrate to bring that up and leave the rest alone. I probably wouldn't even do a water change right now. I would just dose nitrate to bring those up. Your thoughts on using Nopox when having dinos to reduce nitrate? I am not sure why you would want to reduce nitrate when you have dinoflagellates. That is kind of the opposite of what you want to do. Unless they're like really crazy high, and then it would probably be fine because the Nopox is a carbon source. It's going to grow the beneficial bacteria in more population, which could potentially help you out compete the dinos. I don't know. There's a lot of maybes in that whole scenario. But what are the nitrate? Just curious. What are your nitrate and phosphate? Just curious. Can freshwater dipping help live rock get rid of pests? I have heard of it. Same thing, just reading online. Yeah, it can. Another thing that I have seen people do, which would require quite a bit of work, but they have a live rock shower station set up with some salt water at 1.040, so very salty salt water. And they have it connected to a pump with a shower head and a grate over that aquarium. And they'll put the live rock up there and then they'll rinse it with that really high salinity water. And the animals don't like that. And they try to get out of the rock and get away from it. They come out of the rock, they fall through the grate into the 1.040 water, and they either die or they can net them out. It's just another way to do it. But yes, you can do a freshwater rinse on them as long as it's relatively quickly without killing all of the beneficial stuff. Hello from Brazil. Hi. Thank you so much for joining the stream. We are happy that you are here with us. I was actually thinking of the condensation on the lids would help reduce water loss and keep all the evaporation from going to the house. It will. It definitely will do exactly that. The lids that I have on my QT tank, I barely have to top that thing off up once a week because the lids stop the evaporation from occurring. There are other issues though with gas exchange like we were talking about earlier. Gwen has carbon and purit. Did you mean Purigen maybe? Yeah, John says it almost stopped the evaporation, but I didn't like it. Yeah, I agree. Portable aircon unit in the room may help drop. True. You got a portable AC and dehumidifier, says John. Yep. I spilled some carbon in my tank. Do I need to get it out of the tank? Of course, it's behind the rocks and too close to the back wall. I would use a tube of some kind to vacuum out as much as you can, even if some sand comes out with it. But I mean, is it really going to hurt anything long term? Probably not. You know, it's just going to degrade into nothing over time. But I would try to get as much out as you can. Gloria says, if you get uranema in your reef tank, the only option is to shut it down, right? What do you do with corals? It's not the only option, but it is the only viable option that will keep the rest of the tank alive, really. You would have to dose so much chloroquine phosphate to the tank to kill the uranema that probably everything else is going to die too. Unfortunately, it's just one of the terrible bugs that we can get in reef keeping that are not easy to fix. And that's why we QT every fish that goes in our tank. But yeah, so uranema, it sucks, man, if you get it, because you do have to tear the tank down. You have to set up another tank. You have to put the corals over in that tank. They're going to take uranema with them on their rocks or whatever. So then that tank has to go through the tank transfer kind of thing. You know, you can dose the coral tank with chloroquine phosphate long term in hopes of getting rid of them. But then you're at a point where you're having to take microscopic samples and stuff from all over the tank to see if you can find any of the uranema left in there. It's a bad thing to have, which is, if you needed one thing that would make you QT everything that went into your tank, it's uranema. Because there's nothing you can do. Okay, so let's talk about this a little bit more, AJ. So you have an AC, it's at 74, the room temperature is at 77. So if your ambient temperature is at 77, but the tank is still getting up to 82 or 83, and the heater is off, it means that whatever else is running in your tank is putting heat into the tank. So your return pump, your circulation pumps, are you using a UV sterilizer? Anything like that that has a power cord going to it could potentially impart heat into the tank. So if the room temp is 77, something you have in that tank is adding heat, and you might have to change out whatever that is. If you buy 2 or 3 fish from the local fish store, do you need to QT them separately? No, you don't. You can QT them together as long as they can all tolerate QT. There are some fish that cannot tolerate medicated QT, and your only option is to do a tank transfer method with them. Yeah, well, that's true too. Light's too close? Yeah, could be. Could be not enough airflow. I mean, it's a BioCube, so the lid is shut, you know? But yes, you can QT the fish together, but it just depends on species for which type of QT you're going to have to do. Let's see. Okay. Nitrate 27, phosphate 0.3. So your range and ratio is actually, your ratio is actually good. Your range is just a little high. Thanks. Other thing, when having leather, they don't like low nutrients. Honestly, if you're fighting dinoflagellates right now, I would not try to drop your nitrate or your phosphate. I would leave them exactly where they are. They're in a very good ratio to one another. You're at like almost 100-to-1, which is the target. So I would just leave the nutrients and fight the dinos for now. That would be my recommendation. John says, we have Dong every Friday on a YouTube stream. You should join us as a guest. So you're talking about Reef Bum? Are you with Reef Bum? How can I QT a diamond goby? Diamond goby QT is a little strange because they like to sift the sand. So to keep them at their happiest, you would want some sand in there. What I've seen people do is use like a glass bowl or a Tupperware container or something like that. Put sand into that container, put it in the QT to give them somewhere to do their thing, you know? The Reefers Network in the UK. Interesting. John, send an email, please, to admin@reefrookies.com and just kind of give us the details about what you got going on, and we'll look it over as soon as we possibly can. But if you wouldn't mind doing that, that would be cool. I would really like to have a conversation with Dong, or at least be involved in the conversation where he's in the room. You know, that'd be super cool. And I assume you're talking about Dong Zhao from Acro Gardens, right? But yeah, QT diamond goby, they're not sensitive to copper. You can do them in copper and stuff like that, but they kind of do want to have that sand. Sometimes QT with a lot of sand in it and a lot of rocks will suck up the medications. I have rocks on my QT right now. So far, so good. But sand does it a little more. So I would just do like a bowl, and that'll give him something to dig in. Bike Life, how often should I test the copper levels if the sand soaks up the copper? Test your copper every day, or even maybe twice a day. Because if it drops below the therapeutic level, your timer starts over again. And I don't want you to be 14 days into a 21 or a 30-day QT and have to go back to day 0. because that's what happens. So check it every day. I'm checking mine every afternoon. So far, it's staying at 2.49. Long as it doesn't go to 2.48 and 7 and 6, I'm good. But if it starts trending down, I'm going to have to keep adding copper to make sure it stays within that therapeutic level.
I think you missed one.
Did I miss one?
Keely Griffiths.
I did. Oh, I wasn't there yet.
Oh.
Or maybe I was there yet.
Yeah.
No, I just missed it. I'm sorry. Keely, where can I find the video you made about homemade snow to help clog up vermitid snails? You don't have to find the video. I can tell you about that right here, right now. It's very, very easy. Although, if you go to the do we have a DIY snow one on the website? It's in the DIY video.
Yes, but I do not have the DIY video on the website.
No, sorry. It's in the saving money video, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. I've done almost 300 videos.
You have DIY in the description of that. If they just search DIY on the YouTube channel, it should pop up, but I don't know where in that video it is.
I don't remember if I talked about coral snow.
Maybe you did.
I don't know either. I think I did. If you search my YouTube channel for the words DIY or save money, you should be able to find that video. But at any rate, DIY snow is super easy. You're going to go to my website.
Yes, it should be in there. Hang on. Yes. Sorry. Go ahead.
You're going to go to my website and you're going to go to Amazon product recommendations. You're going to go to the additives and DIY section, and you're going to find the calcium chloride powder, and you're going to buy that. You're going to get that home to your house, and you're going to mix 10 level tablespoons of that powder into 500 milliliters, half a liter of RODI water. You're going to shake the crap out of it, and you're done. That's it. That's DIY coral snow. Then you're going to dose 50 milliliters or 10 milliliters per 50 gallons or something like that.
You have
5 what?
Milliliters per 50 gallons.
Okay, there we go. I couldn't remember. 5 milliliters per 50 gallons. It is on the website.
Yes.
So also, if you go to the website and you go to Reefing Insights, or you go to the website, you go to Education, you hit the drop down, you'll find the Saving Money one.
It's under the Reefing Insights.
It's under the Reefing Insights, under the Saving Money one. You'll find the recipe. Yes. Isn't there a sand that doesn't absorb anything? Not that I know of. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't heard of one. I'd be very interesting to hear about that, though. What kind of sand should I use when QTing live or dry sand? If you're doing just an observation QT, I would recommend live sand. But again, if you have to medicate that QT, it's probably going to absorb the medications, and you're probably going to end up having to take it out. Silica sand. Most sand, silica sand that's like beach sand. That's very different than aragonite sand that is basically just crushed up coral skeleton. So silica sand, it may not absorb things. Interesting. I'd have to look that up. It's basically glass. So I would think that maybe it wouldn't.
Did you say calcium chloride or you just said calcium carbonate?
Yes. I should have said calcium carbonate powder, not calcium chloride powder. My bad. I'm sorry. It's almost 3 hours. I'm tired. A lot of brain stuff happening over here for 3 hours straight. You know what I mean? This is exhausting, you guys. If you haven't ever tried doing this, it is hard. It's not easy. Jamie says, back to the diamond goby. Pink spotted watchman goby are okay with copper. They should be. They should be. But I don't know. Let me check. Google said no. And I wasn't sure about the copper with the sand dish. The copper with the dish should be okay. I thought diamond gobies were okay in copper, but I guess I'll have to dig back into it again if Google says no. But Google's wrong all the time, so that's also a thing. Your thoughts on treatment with silicates to treat dino? What brand what brand and amount. So if you have the dinos that respond to silicate treatment verified with a microscope, the one that I would recommend using is made by a company called Lynn, Lynn. It is 40% sodium silicate, and they call it water glass. Now, the dosing amount is going to depend on your tank volume. And there's a chart that if you Google silica treatment reef tank chart, you will find, and it will tell you how much to dose to your tank every day. But it's only going to help if it's the right kind of dinos. Gloria says, I used copper in my QT tank, and when I was done, I used Cuprosorb by Seachem to remove it. My level got down to 0.01. So did I essentially remove all of it? Essentially, yes. All of it? No. And it will leach out of those rocks over time, and it doesn't take much copper to kill invertebrates and whatnot. Reef Keeper's in the house and said, yo, not calcium chloride. You're absolutely right. Yes, that was a mistake. Again, brain. Calcium carbonate is what you want. Fun fact, it's also the same stuff that they make chalk for writing on a chalkboard with. The white, it's just calcium carbonate, same stuff. It's that powder pressed into a solid. Join the Reefers Network Friday night, 8 p.m. and the East Coast Reefer Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Okay. No problem, Keely. Happy to help. Kimberly says, Google says silica sand isn't as absorbent. That's cool, but I've heard bad things about silica sand long term in a reef tank, but I don't know about using it in QT. I've never tried, never looked it up either. Brought some Fritz RPM off your recommendation page last week. It makes 160 gallon. 10% change is like 1.5 gallon. I only do 2 gallon max, so I have salt for years. How do I keep it from clumping? You put it in a 5 gallon bucket that has a lid with a gasket on it, and you throw a huge desiccant pack in there with it to keep it dry. Keeping it dry is the thing that has to happen. But salt in a bucket will release its own moisture and create a humid environment in the salt above the bucket. So the best thing to do is to keep it in a bag that you can suck all the air out and then put it in the bucket and seal it up if you're going to be keeping it for years. Also, make sure you mix it up every single time you use it. Toss it around, throw it around, all that stuff, and you'll be good to go. Reefer, no problem. Calcium chloride would have made a great dip, though. Good evening from Holland. Would you give a close-up of the tank behind you, please? Yeah, we can do that again. It's almost time to end the stream. We can do another little tank tour, do a little walk around. Let me answer these last few questions. How to get bristle worms out of the rock work? A spear? No. At night, when your lights are off, turn all the flow off on your aquarium and put a piece of shrimp on the sand. Every bristle worm in that tank will come out of those rocks and start traveling towards that shrimp, and you can just pick them out with tongs if you want to. It's the easiest way to do it. How do you get nitrate down? It's at 15.6. I've done water changes and starved my fish for the day, and one of my corals is not thriving. The nitrate at 15 is not why your coral isn't thriving. That said, if you want to get nitrate down, you can either do water changes or you can employ a skimmer to suck up some of the dissolved organics. Or you could use nitrate reduction media, like Seachem has some called denitrate. You could potentially use that. But the nitrate at 15 is not your problem, I don't believe, my friend. Are you drinking coral and algae? Coffee looks pink. No, I am not. That is because of this light right here that I use as fill lighting and bounce lighting to make me a little different color on this side of my face. Okay, cool. So let's do another tank tour. We'll take a closer look at the aquarium and the corals within it. What did I do with the, where did I, oh, it's in the window. I couldn't find didn't know where I did with my clippy. All right. So we should have enough power to unplug the phone now. So let's go take a look at the tank. And I'll show you guys some of my favorite corals and stuff. And we'll go check it out. Lens on. There we go. Cool. So this guy is a sailfin tang named AWOL. That fox face is named Linkfin Park. We don't have a name for the 3 damselfish. The bristletooth is, what did we name the bristletooth? It was Tupac's mother's name. I can't remember the name. That's terrible. This is Elmer and Elsie. I have 2 of these. The black storm clownfish. This guy doesn't have a name, does he? The cleaner wrasse? He used to have a name. I have forgotten what I named my fish. And then we have the chalk bass over here. We never named him. This dude down here, that's Maynard. So that's pretty cool.
The goby down there,
the diamond goby's name is Scoop Dog. So lots of different kinds of corals and stuff. There is not a lot of water flow in this tank right now because I need to update the wave makers and stuff. What's the name of the 3 nephews of Donald Duck? You should name the damsels that. Huey, Dewey, and Louie. That's it. That you got it, Mathis. There they are. That's Huey, Dewey, and Louie. Oh, and this guy is that's a 3-striped damsel. His name is Al Fishbones. And this is Ying from the Yin Yang twins, but Yang is now no longer with us. But yeah, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. That's awesome. Jamie said Tupac's mom is Afina?
Yes, I couldn't remember.
I didn't think that was it, but okay. Afina. I'm probably saying that incorrectly, but yeah, that's that fish's name. We need a name for the chalk bass too. He's fat, dude. Look at his belly. That dude's got a whole step in his doggone guts where he's just Afeni. AFENI. That sounds better. But yeah, no problem with the answering of the questions. For anyone who's here hanging out with us, I'm live again. I'm dead. But anyway, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please drop a subscription so you catch all my videos and you don't miss anything. We do this live stream every Sunday from 1 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. And we would love it for you to join our private Facebook group. Yeah, you can't really see that. It's Reef Rookies with Logan. You can get there from the website, reefrookies.com. And yeah, by the way, we do giveaways and stuff every now and then on our streams. And in order to be entered into the giveaways, man, I really wish that I could get the coloration of that Garf bonsai on camera. It's really pretty purple. But the way that you get signed up for the giveaways is to go to the website, reefrookies.com, go all the way to the bottom, and put your email in the email box. Doesn't cost anything. Get your name on the list. And we don't send you a bunch of crap every month in your email box either. I am so excited for this contraband digitata to grow out back here. It was growing well before the great phosphate spike of 2026. But when this thing... Hey, yo, Albert's in the house. What's up, man? That RFA is insane. Yeah, we can take a look at it. Oh, gosh, I forgot to unzoom. Yeah, that thing's huge. But yes, Albert, to answer your question, the chalk bass, every chalk bass I have ever had has been super peaceful. They're kind of chill. Like he kind of stays away from everybody else and he kind of just hangs out. They eat like absolute pigs. This one is pretty much fully grown. They don't get much more than about 4 inches. They might get up to 5. But this is one of my favorite fish. It's such an underrated fish for saltwater because like they literally cause no problems, and their coloration is so pretty. And they all get fat. Every one of them I've ever had has been big and fat like that. No invert issues. I've never even seen this guy look at a snail. He looks at me all the time. They're super curious, but he just ignores everybody and does his things. Can I ask questions about my own tank here? You can. We have about 5 minutes until the end of the stream because 3 hours is all my throat can take. I got to plug it back up. My phone's dying. But yeah, go ahead and ask your question. We'll see if we can answer them before we finish up here. Yeah, very underrated fish. I very much enjoy having chalk bass in my aquariums for sure. Is brine shrimp good to feed saltwater fish? Yes, brine shrimp is an excellent food for saltwater fish, but it should not be the only thing that you feed your saltwater fish. You're going to want to mix it up and give them more than just brine shrimp. Mysis shrimp, some pellets, good high quality pellet, things like that are definitely good things that you want to do. Kane might be typing, but yeah, we got about 4 or 5 minutes left before we got to call it. Baby brine are better. It depends on the fish. Baby brine are very good. Kane says, cheers, do you have any bristle-tooth tang recommendations for an 80-gallon tank? Yeah, 2-spot, Tomini, or Cole, K-O-L-E, tangs. They would be good options. My screen is really dim. Okay, there we go. There we go. So yeah, either a 2-spot, which is the one that's what I have. He's right down here in the corner, right there. A little 2-spot tang. The first one we had, his name was Tupac. He died. So the second one we named Afeni, Tupac's mother's name. It's pretty cool. But yeah, those would be good bristle-tooth tangs. I would only have one tang of the smaller variety in an 80-gallon. So one of those 3 would be fine. Hatching some brine shrimp now. Yeah. Get a tang after the summer. Cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for the stream. This is it. We are done. Check out the website. Subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, join the Facebook group. Answer both questions and click to agree to the group rules, and we'll get you approved as quickly as we can. My wife vets every single person that joins the group, and we try to run that as the most respectful, cool place to be on the internet to talk about reef keeping. So anyway, that's going to be it for today. It's 4 o'clock. It's time to go fry some catfish. I'm getting kind of hungry, and my throat's very tired. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us, and we will see you next week at the same time. Bye.